Uh, I, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was my first time late. I was late by 5 minutes. What's up? Orewa Arupinda. I'm Alpin Albencher, Kirameki Fitness Idol, and today, VTube Studio didn't want to work at all. I actually, hey, what's up, Ray? I started up at my normal time, getting ready to go, and I stream VTube Studio from iPhone because it has like better facial tracking, right? And my iPhone and my VTube Studio just wouldn't connect. I don't know, nothing changed. It worked all the time, right? I didn't update anything, nothing changed, and it just wouldn't work. And I restarted it twice, and it still wasn't connecting. And then the third time, it just worked again. You're gonna bed, but you saw I went online. Hey, what's up, Ray? Yeah, I know, Ray. Sorry with the time changes and stuff. I know you can't really catch stuff. And no problem, Keitaro. Thanks for coming by. As long as everyone's here to hear the advice on a Japanese itinerary, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, so I don't know, the third time I restarted it, it just worked and connected that time. Really no explanation, nothing changed. So sorry about being a few minutes late there. But yeah, I was actually going to switch to Fugi and use my PNG, but then I realized I've never done Fugi solo and don't know actually how to do that. Because I know it's based on Discord calls, and I was like, wait, I don't have a Discord or a call. How do I get my Fugi to show up? So there's a lot of last minute meandering in the last minute there, but on my third retry, it did connect, so we're good to go. Oh, hey, what's up, Ray? By the way, this isn't just going to be a nice recomp of my adventure, so I think I might have not clarified what's going on here as good as I should have, basically. So I've been to Japan a couple times, and the first time I went was a very, very long adventure. I was there for 3 months, and I traveled to every single prefecture. I think I've talked about that quite a bit. So this time what we're going to be doing is looking at itineraries, not what I've done, but specifically an itinerary I made for my friends who were here for 2 weeks. So it's a pretty good, like, standard itinerary for everyone, I would say, because I've been everywhere. I have a good idea of what's worth it, what's not worth it, and we're going to talk through that. So really, this is an advice stream. This is an educational advice stream on, like, hey, you want to go to Japan? Here's the most efficient way to travel. And what you don't want to miss, how to do it, and what's probably okay to miss. So, you know, gotta catch my breath a little bit because I did kind of run right into it without any testing and stuff. I woke up like basically an hour ago, because last night I saw my friends off. So the buddies I went here to follow basically went ahead and left today. So I still have 10 days here where I'm just kind of going to be hanging out with my one other friend and probably like partying, doing day trips and stuff like that. But I saw them off last night. So I traveled with them between last stream and this stream. I traveled with them across a good part of Honshu, which is the main island of Japan. And then I saw them off last night in Tokyo. Of course, I am staying in Osaka. So I had to catch the last Shinkansen out last night in a rush because I like had 30 minutes for dinner. I had to rush onto the Shinkansen. I got back here like a little after midnight and I went right to bed. Then I woke up probably about 6.5 hours later, and here I am now to stream. So I'm a little tired, and but that's okay because when we get through the stream, once I give you all this beautiful advice and stuff, then I can have a rest day. Then I can eat. Then I can hang out because the last 3 days have been very busy. A lot of trekking and stuff like that. I was showing my friends through the Alpine route, so I didn't go with them this time because it cost a fair bit of money, but we're going to talk about that. All right, so hey, what's up, Ubume? Yeah, take notes on this one. Absolutely. I have an itinerary here that I'm going to show you guys, but you want to take personal notes because there's many options and it differs greatly depending on how you want to travel. So this is like I would say not as nature oriented as I would do, but my friends wanted a little more of like the just hit them with the first Japan experience type thing because one hadn't really ever been here and then one had only been in Tokyo for a week one other time like 10 years ago. So they wanted the general just figure it out type deal. So Shinkansens are incredible late night. Just sit wherever you have all the seats free. Yeah, mine was at Tokyo to Osaka, so it was pretty busy, but past Hamamatsu, it wasn't busy at all. And my entire car was empty. I always get a reserve seat just to be safe, but yeah, we'll talk about that. If you ever want to write a travel guide ebook, hit me up. You can help me publish. I honestly consider that, Ubume. I would really consider that because, like, I don't think there's many people, many Japanese people even, when I talk to them and stuff like that, a lot of people have not been to every prefecture, and that's kind of like a big adventurer thing. So I do have like a good grasp of like, yeah, I've been literally almost everywhere. Like, there's very few places that I haven't been, and I'm going to talk about those. But yeah, I think I'd definitely be able to write a travel guide because I've spent quite a bit of time doing this and, you know, backpacking specifically. So I don't know anything about fancy living in Japan. I only know about budget living in Japan. But we're going to go over that. So yeah, watch the VOD. Have a good one. Yeah, no problem, Ray. Thanks for coming by at the beginning here. Tier list of prefectures when. Ooh, that's a really good idea. I need to write that down. Remind me later. Actually, can you Twitter DM that idea to me? Because I want to do that. But I'm pretty sure Kyoto or Osaka prefecture would be top anyway. So, is this geared towards spring, summertime? Actually, I was going to point that out right at the beginning. This trip is meant for spring or fall, not winter or summer. That's a good question, Morgan, and welcome back. Or welcome by, I should say. It's first time chat, so I don't know if you've been here before. But yeah, this is going to be for fall and spring kind of specifically. Man, if I had more time, I would have advertised this stream on like Japan travel, right? And been like, hey, I'm actually making an itinerary, because everyone always asks for itineraries there on Reddit on Japan travel. And I was like, I should advertise this stream. But I got busy and forgot. That's all right. We got the VOD. Haha. You're the manager now. Bridge Prefecture mascots would be best Pokemon. All right. Either way, we've talked for long enough, so let's get into it, start talking about Japan, where I can wax poetic about this beautiful nation. All right, let's go. Yeah, it would be an interesting way to gain some more viewers. Yeah, I mean, you can, Albume, you can post if you, I don't know, actually don't, because there's very specific posting rules there, and I didn't, like, ask the mods or anything if it'd be okay. I don't know if you can self-promote in Japan travel. People ask for itinerary advice all the time, but I'm not gonna, like, throw that in there without asking the mods or anything like that. So let's not. I don't want that, like, I don't want that to come back on me, you know what I mean? That's my, but thank you for the offer. Thank you for the offer very much. But yeah, I was a little worried about that coming back on me. All right, unfortunately, I'm going to have to tab back and forth to actually look at chat, because I didn't do that. I didn't prep enough, because I was running very, very late. So I'm just going to tab back and forth. So if I don't catch your message in the first, like, 30 seconds, I'll be there soon. I'll be there soon, because I'm going to do it very frequently. Pretty much after I start or stop a specific rambling. Okay, here we go. So let's take a look at the nation of Japan. Here's Japan. For those who don't know much about traveling in Japan, what you need to know pretty much right off the bat is there are 4 main areas of Japan, 4 main islands, and then 9 regions of Japan. I might get some of my regions mixed up, so bear with me. It's been a bit. So right here, this main island, can you see my mouse cursor? I imagine you can see my mouse cursor. I think it's an on-screen display thing, so I think you can see that. But this main island right here, where you see Tokyo, where you see Niigata, where you see Osaka, Hiroshima, Sendai, Aomori up here, all of that is the island of Honshu. That's the main island of Japan. It's all connected, obviously, because, you know, 4 islands, like I said. Perfect. You can see the cursor. Awesome. So yeah, this is Honshu. This is the main island of Japan. This trip itinerary for a first-time person is going to mainly be in Honshu, because generally people want to come to Japan for the first time and they want to experience like the main Japanese culture. Now, there's some very cool stuff down in Kyushu. There's very cool stuff up in Hokkaido. Very neat stuff in Shikoku. But for most people, this is going to be where you want to focus. There's something called the Golden Route, which you can actually see right here if you look at the city profile. Ooh, thanks for the follow, by the way. Welcome to the gym. So if you see the city profile here, what you can see is that there's a route that goes from Tokyo, where most people fly in, kind of runs along the coast here. This is called the Tokaido Sanyo. It was an old road back in the Edo period and before, actually for thousands of years, called the Tokaido, which is just basically like southern sea route. And it was the only way kind of through to Kyoto at the time, because the mountain range runs right through here. Mount Fuji's right down here. Fun fact, people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this. You can see Mount Fuji from Tokyo. Like, if you're high enough in Tokyo, you can see Mount Fuji. It's very close. It's very close. As big of a city as Tokyo is. So this southern route here kind of passes right through the like the ocean route to Nagoya, to Kyoto and Osaka, and then onwards to Hiroshima. It does continue going past that down to here, but we're not going to talk about that just yet, because this is called the Golden Route. Basically, between Hiroshima and Tokyo is the Golden Route. That is where most tourists are. That is where most, like, English support is, right? If you don't speak Japanese, that's where most of the English-speaking support's going to be. Don't get me wrong, signs and maps everywhere have English, no matter where, but the people and actually talking to them and, like, you know, staff at convenience stores and stuff like that. So, depends on the weather, but yeah. So, this is primarily where I'm going to be focusing on, but we are going to do a little bit of a roundabout and come up this way and then come check out the Alps as well, because there's a really cool Alps right here, the Japanese Alps over in the Hida Mountains, and they're very, very cool. Actually, let me switch to this view. Yeah, so you can even see the range here. This range right here are the Japanese Alps, and they're super cool. If anyone saw the Twitter picture that I posted, that was of them, because I was right here in Hakuba just a couple days ago. So that's generally where we're going to be focusing, and we're going to be focusing on a Tokyo fly-in, because that's what most people do. don't get me wrong, I think flying into Kansai is a really, really bold move. I did that this time, which is through Kansai International Airport. This down here on this little island, Kansai International. And then that gives you really good access to Osaka, which is, Kansai is my favorite part of Japan. So I'm very biased towards that side. But we're talking about the normal people flying into Narita or Haneda over here. So when you fly in for the first time, we're gonna talk about a 2-week trip first. When you fly into Japan for the first time, you're gonna fly in one of two places. One place where you probably should avoid if you can is Narita over here. Narita's out in Chiba Prefecture. Here, let me actually let that update. Yeah, Narita Airport's out here in Chiba Prefecture. So even though it's like thought of as the Tokyo entrance point, it's actually kind of far. So once you get to Narita, there's another like about 50-minute train ride before you actually get. Hey, what's up, Tornkite? Hell yeah, Kansai, bro. Dude, I'm 100% on the Kansai train. Tokyo feels a little soulless to me these days. I'm like, Osaka's where it's at. Osaka's home. It's like my second home, unironically. Love Kansai. Most people just want to see Tokyo here. Osaka's better for the foodies. I think Osaka's better for foodies. It's better for social life, and it's better for partying too. So the only thing Tokyo really has, so like, I guess the best way to put it is Tokyo has 5 of everything, and Osaka has 1 of everything. But do you really need 5 of everything? I think Tokyo is really cool to go to, and you should absolutely visit it. There's a lot to do, but at the same time, if you've been before, it's like I wouldn't spend a lot of time there if you're going on a follow-up trip. Don't get me wrong, I have nights in Tokyo. We're gonna start in Tokyo, but for yeah, once you do a little bit, it's like it depends what you like though, because you can spend a lot of money in Tokyo. So if you're here to like spend a lot and have a lot of luxury and stuff like that and go shopping, Tokyo's where you want to be. But for everyone else, especially younger people, I think Osaka's where it's at. You can get friends easier there too. It can be a bit crowded and noisy if you got agoraphobia. Yeah, but I think it's less crowded and noisy than Tokyo pretty much 100% of the time. like I think anything that you could say about Osaka being crowded, which it is, don't get me wrong, I think Tokyo is always more that. That being said, places like Kobe nearby in Kansai are also a really nice place to be because it's less crowded, but you still have access to everything. So your hometown, Japan's Kobe. Yeah, I just mentioned Kobe. Yeah, Osaka's more friendly for sure. I think the people in Osaka are way more laid back and they're way more friendly. Osaka's like grungy Tokyo is the best way to put it, I would say. But we'll talk about all that as we go. So yeah, Narita Airport's probably not where you want to go in. It's not the end of the world to come out here, but it's just kind of annoying because you've just had a long plane ride, likely, unless you already live in Asia, you've had a very long plane ride from the US. It's like 15 hours with layovers, more than that. So mine was like a 22-hour total flight with a Hong Kong stopover. And then you end up in Narita and you have to take another hour train just to get into Tokyo. And then depending on time of day, that can be a problem. If you're coming in really, really late and stuff like that, the other trains might not be running by the time you get to Tokyo. It's a whole thing. So that being said, a better airport to come in at is Haneda, which is down here. It is right in Tokyo. It's right, somewhere around here. Here we go. Haneda Airport, Terminal 1, 2, and all of that. It gets you right south of Tokyo. You can get to Tokyo really, really fast. So I would highly recommend coming into Haneda if you're coming in to Japan and intend to do Tokyo first. Our trip's going to start in Tokyo here. Now, in terms of where you should stay, let's talk about this. Here is the whole itinerary, by the way, just to show you guys that I have it made here and stuff, and we're going to talk about it. And then we'll talk about other flex options. Hiccups, depending on what you like too. So, starting in Tokyo, I would say a good place to stay when you're in Tokyo is Asakusa. Now, Asakusa itself actually has a lot of cool stuff to do. Hold on, let me just zoom in on Asakusa. It has a lot of cool stuff to do. This is in Taito City, because a fun fact about Tokyo is actually like 14 cities. Actually, I think even more than that. There's like a bunch of special wards of Tokyo that are their own cities, and that all together makes up Tokyo because there's like no border between them. They're all right next to each other. But that's where you can see, like when you zoom out here, you're going to see like Katsuchika City, Edogawa City, Koto City, Minato City, Shinjuku. Those are all in Tokyo, but they're their own cities. Just important to keep in mind. All right. So over here in Asakusa is actually a really sick place to stay because there's a lot of famous things here like Kaminarimon and, a lot of nice shrines. Like this is pretty cool. You've seen this before. These gates right here. I think the photo's showing up. Yeah, these gates right here and stuff. And there's really cool tourist attractions here. A bunch of really cool temples. It's a great like entry point learning how to Japan, I guess I would say, especially if you're a newbie. Because everyone's around here, like you're going to get some traditional architecture, but everyone can speak English more or less. So you're going to have a better shot, at least, of people speaking English. So Asakusa also is fairly cheap. And even better, it's easily accessible to a lot of the big stuff. So if you look at Tokyo as a whole, even though this Tokyo's huge, right? It goes all the way out here, basically. A lot of this you do not need to visit. So this whole eastern side, pretty much, Kawaguchi, Adachi, Katsuchiya, and Edogawa, are mostly residential. And so it's really for people who work in Tokyo, basically, right? So it's good to come in there in the morning if you want to avoid crowding and you want stamps. Yes, if you're a stamp collector too. I don't know too much about that, but feel free to add any stamp info. But yeah, you can get stamps at various stations and stuff. But yeah, I've always found Asakusa to be a lot cheaper, and the best part is it gives you access to this western side of Tokyo, which is where all the big stuff is. So Sensoji Temple is another big one in Asakusa, pretty much. That is like going to be pretty much right nearby where you're staying, most likely, because Asakusa is not too big. But this gives you easy access via train and like the scuba line to Akihabara, which of course we all want to go to because that's the weeb capital of the world. And then it gives you access to like Shinjuku and Shibuya, not too hard either. So Shinjuku's over here, and Shibuya's right over here. It's not too bad. It looks like it might be a little bit, but it's really not too bad. Like, if you do a trip here, let's say Asakusa... Asakusa has a station. Yeah, it's not called anything else. Asakusa station to, let's say, Shibuya Scramble, right? That's going to be the big crossroad everybody knows about. If we were to do that, and we were to do, like, transit on a train, yeah, it's like 43 minutes. But that's not that bad. Like it's on the Ginza line, right? It's one, you don't have to do any transfers. It's one line. It's really not that bad. Of course, if you want to spend a lot more money, you can stay in Shibuya or Shinjuku. That would be ideal. But I'm kind of going budget oriented here, where it's like you're spending a lot on the flight already. And if you don't mind that little commute, you can go there for day trips and stuff. Especially because if we look at the itinerary, I only have you guys in Tokyo for 3 nights. This is very intentional. I think Tokyo's a little overrated. Tokyo's awesome, but you can do realistically, if you're like a really good adventurer, right, and you want to spend all day just getting around seeing things, you can do Tokyo, like the big spots of Tokyo, in like 4 days, no problem. 3 or 4 days, absolutely no problem. I also want to give equal time there in Osaka for a specific reason. So Osaka's a great base for all of Kansai, and Kansai as a whole, I think, has better cities. Because outside of Tokyo, there's nothing really going on. You don't really want to go to Saitama because that's just a satellite city that supports Tokyo pretty much. I don't think there's anything terribly interesting over there. And same thing I would say for like, there's some cool stuff in Kawasaki, Yokohama, and down here in Yokosuka because this is where like Kamakura is. But we're going to hit that on the way back potentially. Kamakura and Enoshima, which I was actually at yesterday. But yeah, I would stay only a few nights in Tokyo and do something like this. Hey, what's up, Killer Crow? Today's stream is about an optimal Japan itinerary. I've been to every prefecture of Japan, so I'm kind of giving people like a, hey, if you're going to take a 2-week trip, here's what you should do to Japan type thing. Yeah, so, and this is, yeah, I'm right now, actually, I'm on my second trip right now. My first trip was 90 days, so this is only my second trip, but I'm hanging around this time, you know what I mean? Yeah, 3 days in Tokyo is about right, I would say. I'd like for this resolution to update a little more. But things you want to do in Tokyo, basically, is the main districts you want to look at. So if you're coming in, this is actually made for my friends. So this one you're looking at right now is an itinerary that my friends followed that I just tracked with them, basically, for the last, like, bit or so. I jumped in and jumped out, but this was their itinerary. And yeah, so the red here you can see is Tokyo, and this is going to be 3 nights in Tokyo, and this is kind of their dates they were here, so it was like right here. But I would do this trip a little earlier, if you can, because they ended up coming during Golden Week, and it was hyper busy in their first week, but if you want to see cherry blossoms, I would come like a month earlier. Like end of March is ideally when you'd want to do this for the spring, I would say, because the temperature is going to be moderate, and you're going to get cherry blossoms. So end of March is exactly when I would do this trip. What gave you the inspiration to visit every district? I just, you know, I'm an adventurer at heart, and so when I travel, I like to move. I don't like to stay in one place at all. I like to see things, move on, go the next day and see something else. And so once I was in Japan for 90 days, and for the first 6 weeks, I was doing like a week in a bunch of different major cities with a friend, and then I had like a whole month and a half after that. And I was like, you know what? I've already been to like 15 of the 47 prefectures, and I have the JR pass, which is the free train pass. Let's just travel across the whole country. So I circumnavigated, and I stayed at least one night in every single prefecture, and I, you know, explored every popular tourist destination. So it was just an adventure, basically. Yeah, so yeah, we made it for our friends and for us. All the famous touristy shrines in Tokyo often have only have copies of stamps and won't write in your stamp books. Ooh, yeah, I never did the stamp rally, but yeah. I'll upload this. Yeah, I'm going to send this out to everyone because I think this is useful for people who are absolutely going to do it for Japan. You like to stay in one place? Yeah, so Tornkai, this isn't really going to be like, this isn't going to be a stay in one place thing. But yeah, I would say if you do want to stay in one place in Japan and you like staying in one place, I would stay in Kansai. If you've already done Tokyo, you should stay in Osaka. And we'll get to that point in a bit. All right, yeah, so moving on. So your main wards that you want to focus on in Tokyo here when you're there are going to be these ones. So Asakusa you're going to do, but it's not really a ward. It's part of Taito City. Shinjuku is what you're going to want to hit at night. Shinjuku is a very good night district because Shinjuku has a Golden Gai, which if anyone's familiar with the Yakuza series, Golden Gai and Kabukicho are, oh boy, what is it? Champion District is Golden Gai in Yakuza, and Kabukicho is Kamurocho. Yeah, sorry. Kamurocho is like 1-for-1 made after Kabukicho. So if you like Yakuza, that's a great place to be. But even if you don't, they're awesome because Golden Gai is this really, hold on, let me show you. Golden Gai is this really tight prospect, like really tight streets, if you zoom in here, of just various izakaya and bar, which are very small, like food shops, basically. Izakaya are like drinking and small little food hubs that only have like 2-3 seats. And it has its own culture in here. Like you're not supposed to take photos and you're supposed to respect their like local area. You see how tight this is compared to everything else around it. I'll show you some photos as well. Golden Gai is very cyberpunk. It's a sick place to be at night. Very much a night district. You even see Bar Champion there, if you're familiar with Yakuza. And it's very small entrances and stuff to Golden Gai, but it's kind of nostalgic, I guess I would say. And it's very cool that it has its own culture and it's all tight like this and stuff. I'd absolutely spend a night here drinking and hanging out and meeting up with people and stuff and partying. Definitely really cool. And then the whole area, Kabukicho around here too. So Kabukicho this is going to be a spoiler, Kabukicho is the red light district. There is a lot of like prostitution and stuff there, but if you're a fan of Yakuza, you want to go and just see it, right? Plus, it's Japan, it's still safe. Just don't follow any of the touts into bars. If someone's trying to bring you into a bar rather than you going into a bar yourself in Japan, don't go in. Generally, especially if you're in that area, because there's scams that can happen. Nothing that like kills you, like nobody kills you, but they will steal your money. If you follow a tout into a bar, they might like lace your drink and just like run your credit card, basically. That's the worst that really happens to people, but just be aware of that. So how'd you deal with the check-in only after certain times of day if you always go different places? Yeah, so what check-in in Japan is going to be generally around 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. for most hotels. So I did a lot of my stuff during the day. So generally I would leave a hotel at like 8 or 9 a.m., sometimes earlier if I'm very train-pilled. So I will be on a train for 8 hours. No problem. Various trains. So I'd leave really early and always like hit that check-in time at my next destination, just because I would do this thing where I would travel on the train for like 3 or 4 hours during the day, and I would stop off at various small towns and cities and stuff like that just to explore them for like an hour or two before moving on down the line. Throughout my whole trip, actually so far, I've visited about 120 Japanese cities and towns as my total. So I've been lots of places. It was so funny on this trip too, because like pretty much every single place my friends went, I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I've been here before. How touristy is it? It can get touristy, don't get me wrong, but there's such a like, hey, respect this area culture. It's not that bad. Like nobody's stopping in the road to take pictures. There's tons of signs everywhere that are like, don't do that, we will kick you out type deal. So specifically Golden Gai is a great experience, even if there are other tourists around, I would say. A tout is like they try and bring you to bars. They stand outside bars and stuff, and they're like, hey, come in. Or they'll say like, oh, we have a free drink deal. You know, an all-you-can-drink deal. Come on in type deal. So just don't trust them. Don't trust them. Lost to host clubs as well. Yeah. So Kabukicho's cool, but it's definitely Shinjuku as a whole is somewhere that you want to do at night, I would say. Although you do have Shinjuku Churros Central Park here. It's not amazing compared to some of the others, like Shinjuku National Garden. That's pretty nice. And Meiji Jingu over here near Harajuku. But this is Shibuya. Shibuya I would do in the daytime, because then you do Shibuya Scramble, you do all the shopping. This is a nice little park. And Harajuku's street is Harajuku's the fashion district. And let me see if I can even get you on the street here. Where is the specific? I think it's this street right here. Harajuku Station, Buttermilk Channel. It might be the street right here. Yeah, Omotesando right here. Okay, let me try and drop. It gets really crowded. Oh no, that's the end. Why do they have the underground on Google Maps? Oh man. Anyway, yeah, so Harajuku is a really popular district. So I would go there in Shibuya for sure. Yeah, like a club promoter. True. Doesn't sound too bad to just go in and out of trains, look at local before taking the train again. Exactly. You stayed in Ikebukuro and constantly pestered by street hustlers. Yeah, that'll happen there too. Hey, Japan's going good. What's up, Poppy? I'm still here for 10 more days, but I'm just doing itinerary. Yeah, I feel like everyone in Japan just dresses a lot better than the West, at least. Just general culture of that. But yeah, the wards I would hit, like while you're in Tokyo, I would check out Shibuya, Chiyoda, Minato. Yeah, if you have limited time. Obviously, so when I had a lot of time in Tokyo when I was here, so I ended up visiting every city in Tokyo just to say I did. It was another completionist thing, but I was like, I'm gonna go to every city. And let me tell you right now, you can find one or two cool things out here in the satellites, but these are residential. Don't even bother with the east side. One thing I think is cool that's underrated is over here in Koto City, there is this stuff. This is where one of the life-size Gundam are, but this area right here, this whole Odaiba area, basically, it's its own artificial island, and there's some really cool shopping in here. This is also, I believe, where Tokyo Big Sight is, if you're talking about a pilgrimage. Yep. Tokyo Big Sight's right here if you're talking about the pilgrimage, the Comiket pilgrimage, the legendary Weeb Comiket pilgrimage and stuff. Big Sight's right here as well. So I actually think that Odaiba and Koto City down here is a really good rec. But if you kind of look, think of Tokyo as this arc right here on the left side, on the west side. Shinjuku, Shibuya, Minato, and Koto. Also, Akihabara is right here too. So Skytree. Okay, so Skytree and the Tokyo Tower, right? You can go to the Skytree. However, I would say, look this up. There's a place called the Tokyo Metropolitan Building, and it's a very, very, very high up building that has a free viewing platform at the top, and you have to pay like, I think like 1,800 yen or something like that, which is roughly like $15 US for the Skytree, and there's a huge queue usually and stuff like that. So if you don't really care, I would just go up the Metropolitan Building. It's free. You know what I mean? And no one's there. So you get like maybe 80% of the view, 90% of the view just by doing that instead. So how would you say visiting that area is Gundam mental? Yeah, I would. You won't make it back from all the stuff you buy. Yeah, if you go to Akihabara, you need to be strong and maybe do that the last day of your trip, because we're going to be back in Tokyo for the last day on this itinerary. So maybe save Akihabara for then if you're not strong enough, because it is bad. It is really bad. Akihabara is I almost feel like it's almost like take what you imagine for Akihabara for like how dense it is with like anime and stuff and like triple it. It's actually way crazier, I think, than anyone gives it right to, because there's like skyscrapers. There's like 6 or 7 story buildings that are just anime goods and, you know, game goods and all that stuff. So, and there's a lot of them. It's a lot of them right next to each other. It's like I spent like 2 whole days exploring and I was not done. I did not see nearly everything. Insane in Akihabara. But yeah, so first few days I'd recommend doing that. Go to Tokyo, do Asakusa, Shinjuku, Golden Gai, Kabukicho, Shibuya, Chiyoda, Minato, award site, sleep in Tokyo, all of this stuff, okay? Lots of maid cafes as well, true. And the food in Japan is just good everywhere, but we're getting to Osaka, which is known as the kitchen of Japan, so we'll go there in a bit here. So, yep, if you want plushies and figs and cute clothes, Akihabara and Harajuku. Like Tokyo, so Poppy, in your case specifically, spend more time in Tokyo. If you're in for that like kind of fashion aspect, absolutely spend more time in Tokyo. Harajuku and Akihabara are going to be where you want to live, basically. So you might want to adapt the schedule a little bit and spend more time there. Okay, moving on from there. We're going to talk about flex options as we go, so don't worry. This is going to be a general question stream, too. So if you guys have, like, this is Zatsu. If anyone has any questions about Japan or any particular area, like I said, I've been everywhere. Feel free. If you see something on the map and you're like, hey, what's going on over there? Just ask. I'll let you know. Any questions at all, even if they're for your specific circumstances, I will answer. So, okay. Now, I would recommend, after that, head to Hakone. And I want you to splurge a little bit here if you can. So here's my thought process. As you follow the Shinkansen, also, I would recommend, so JP Rail, I was actually about to say that. Mordred. Japan Rail Pass. They've increased the price as of last year by about 40%, but additionally, the yen has become very, very weak. So a 21-day JR Pass is still only about $630 US, even though it is 100,000 yen. It comes out to be $630. So you guys are doing a 14-day in this planned itinerary, but if you want to extend out another week, I would give you options for that too, because we'd be going to Kyushu in that case. So if you're doing a 21-day trip, a 3-week trip, then get that JR Pass. Trust me. Okay, I know it's a little more expensive. Did I visit Miyajima? Let me remember which one that is. Is that the one off of Hiroshima? Miyajima. No, that's off Osaka. Nope, wait, hold on. That's a district. That's not right. Miyajima's an island. Did I visit Miyajima? I forget. because I think that's one of the Miyajima Island. Which island is that? That is, yes, I did visit. Yep. Okay, that's why. I was gonna say Miyajima is called Itsukushima. Like, that's how it's known here, so that's why I get confused by that one sometimes. Did you pet a deer? Oh, I pet deer in Nara, but actually, wait, no, Miyajima. This one, I don't think this one's known for its deer. This one's the torii gates that are in the water. Is this one? This view is Miyajima or Itsukushima. So. Another Pop. Hey, what's up, Pop? So, yeah. This one's worth going to, I think. It does get real crowded, and the tour groups, like, if you get hit by a tour group, it's going to be really hard to get off the island. But we'll get there. Keep jumping ahead of myself. Oh, why are we... Is there like popping going on? Why are we saying pop? Or are we just saying hi to Pop? I'm getting scared. Is there popping? Are we okay? Or is it just... Itsukushima has poisonous snakes, just FYI if you plan on walking inland. Yeah, and I generally wouldn't recommend walking inland in general. I think, so there are poisonous snakes in all of Japan. It's worse in Okinawa, don't get me wrong. They have habu snakes, vipers there, pit vipers basically. But in general in Japan, I wouldn't go into non-well-treaded woods. Because there are... I don't know specifically about that island, but Japan obviously has black bears, which aren't as bad as brown bears. They only have brown bears in Hokkaido, but they're a little more aggressive than the U.S. black bears. So and there's boar and monkeys and stuff. So I really wouldn't mess around in untreaded woods unless you're an experienced woodsman like myself. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that. I did that, but I wouldn't do that without experience. So just streets behind. Yeah, good idea. Yeah, they're supposed to be just streets behind. Yeah, we're looking at that. Yeah, the boar situation's rough. I've run into them before. I've run into them a little bit. They never got too close, but I've run into them. I've run into pretty much every animal, except for a bear in Japan. Okay, so what I would recommend if you want to splurge, and talking about the JR Pass, so it's $630 US, and I would incredibly recommend it. That's for a 21-day pass. I think it's only like 500 or so for a 14-day pass. So here's the thing. A lot of people just do the math and they don't consider the logistics. So a lot of people were like, you should do a calculator to make sure if the JR Pass, it makes sense for your trip, right? And a lot of people just do a pure cost comparison between how often they're using the trains versus how much they'd save with the JR Pass. And then that deal kind of went out the window, and everyone recommends not getting it now. I disagree very much. I think you should get the JR Pass. And the reason why is because they have not considered logistics. Logistically, having the JR Pass is a lifesaver. Because with the JR Pass, you never have to buy a ticket. You can just walk onto any JR line. You don't have to worry about, oh, I need this specific train. Because keep in mind, in Japan, the trains come like every 30 minutes. So say you want some freedom. Say that you're, for example, coming from Tokyo down to Osaka or something like that, and you're hungry. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to stop at Shizuoka for lunch. I want to get off here at lunch. Well, if you've paid a ticket ahead of time, you're not going to do that. But if you have the JR Pass, you can simply get off the train and then get back on. So another train, right? So for logistics and ease of mind, never having to buy a ticket, I would absolutely get that JR Pass. Forget about the extra money. It's going to be like an extra $100 for insane peace of mind. I would absolutely do it because it just gives you freedom. And freedom is the best to use in Japan because everything's so safe and well connected. You can just kind of screw off anywhere at any point, and it's a good idea. So I would please do that. Please consider doing that. So the global feral hog infestation continues. Yeah. Now that you're planning on going, be wanted forever to see a baseball game out there. Any recommendations, details you can mental note? Okay, one of the most famous baseball teams in Japan is the Hanshin Tigers, based in Osaka. So I would absolutely consider going. Like, the Hanshin Tigers fans are notoriously hyped, so I would recommend going to Osaka for that and try and catch one of their games. That would be the number one. Yeah, if I'm on the move on Japan, if you're staying in one city, it doesn't matter. True, yeah, if you don't get the JR Pass, if you're only staying in one place, or if you're only going once from like Tokyo to Kyoto or Tokyo to Osaka. Granted, this area, having JR Pass here does give you some nice connections, but there's other railways here, so you probably don't even need that. But yeah, if you're doing like this trip or you just really like exploring, I would recommend the JR Pass. The logistics you save and don't have to worry about from having one are priceless as far as I'm concerned. Poppy, this sounds really affordable. Yes, Japan's very, very affordable once you get there. If you have the US dollar, it's the yen is at its weakest point it's ever been in like 30 years right now. Everything's on like a 50% discount, if not more. So I believe right now the conversion, it used to be $1 is 100 yen. It is now $1 is 160 yen. So like things that are like, 100,000 yen converts to $630 basically. It's wicked discount. And you can get hotels for under $40 a night, like single room hotels and stuff. They're going to be shabby, don't get me wrong, but you can get single room hotels for under 40 a night. Japan's hyper affordable once you're here. The food's hyper affordable. Everything is. Just the plane ticket costs a lot of money. So once you're here though, that's why I recommend staying for a while. Really take advantage of how much you're paying for that plane ticket, right? Yeah. JR Pass makes sense in Kanto, so you can go back and forth all day. True. The only thing is that it only works in the Yamanote line, which is the loop line in Tokyo, which you can kind of see here, like this loop area. And there's not, so one thing to consider is subway lines usually are not JR. So the JR Pass is for JR Rail Lines, which is the national rail company. That's going to be the majority of lines in the entire country. But in some built up areas, there are third-party railways. So in Tokyo, there's a few of them, especially out here in Kyoto. There's a bunch in Kyoto and a bunch in Osaka that are like the Keihin Railway and stuff like that. You can't use the JR Pass there. So just keep that in mind. I'm in Nagoya. You can't use the JR Pass there, so just keep that in mind. Where it makes less sense, I think, if you're just staying in one place, especially there. All right, back on track. Everything's not okay with their currency, but it's great for us. It's great for us. Japan's slow burn towards economic problems. That's why the yen's weak. Yeah, true. It'll be a while before you can go, but you definitely go in the future. Yep. All right, so back to what we were doing. So if you have the JR Pass, you can take Shinkansen, which are the bullet trains, for free, basically, once you paid for it. You just specifically on the Tokaido Sanyo line, this southern line here, you have to avoid two trains, the Mizuho and the Nozomi. Those are super express Shinkansen. They stop at less places, go a little bit faster, and you can't use the JR Pass to get on them. Don't get me wrong, they come frequently, but the other trains come just frequently enough. I've never had a problem. And they go like, it adds like 20 minutes to your commute time of like 2.5 hours. So it's really not that big of a deal. You can Gaijin smash your way into getting on a Mizuho or Nozomi, because once you're past the Shinkansen gate, you can get on any train. There's no like second check of ticket. And most of the time, they just never check your ticket anyway. So like, I'm not going to advocate for this, but in a dire circumstance, you can just get on a Nozomi and they'll probably never, like, even if they catch you, they're just going to be like, oh, don't do that, and let you stay on because you're a dumb foreigner. You know what I mean? Like, you use the Gaijin Pass to your advantage at that point. So tourism spike. Yeah, it's a huge tourism spike. So for that next few days, after you do your little Tokyo stint, maybe 3 nights, 4 days, or half days in Tokyo or something like that, I would head to Hakone. So this is good for fall and spring in particular, because if you're coming in during spring, if you're coming in during late March, or if you're coming in during foliage season, you're going to get your either cherry blossoms or fall foliage. So you go ahead, you follow that Shinkansen line, boop, 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 boop. You come down right here, stopping at Odawara Station, basically JR Odawara, and you're going to take local connections to Hakone. Now, the thing about Hakone is it's an inland area right here, and you can see it kind of goes past this. So this is like actual Hakone, but it comes all the way in here, and you see all these hotels and stuff. It's because Hakone, and this is like the whole area, basically the park, there's some ropeways here and stuff like that. The area is right next to Mount Fuji. So all of this is over here, right? There's a nice lake and stuff like that, Lake Asi, and Mount Fuji is directly over here. So it looks like it's kind of far with Gotemba in the middle. Don't get me wrong, it kind of is far, but for the best views of Fuji from a distance, you go to Hakone. So I would recommend spending a night in Hakone, as I have right here, and spending a day there actually. So like head there early from Tokyo, spend a day there. There's a lot to do in Hakone, and then sleep there. This is where I would recommend splurging. Get yourself a ryokan. A ryokan's a traditional Japanese inn, the one with the hot springs. So I would do that here or in Kyoto, or yeah, on this trip, at least on this itinerary, I would do it here. So don't misuse Gaijin Pass. No, I agree. Don't take that as like a please do this type thing. I would not. Absolutely respect the culture. Try and learn some Japanese. Don't misuse the Gaijin Pass. What I'm saying is, like, if you miss a connection and your booking is in Osaka and you're in Tokyo still, and the last train out is a Mizuho or a Nozomi in the middle of the night, I think you take that train. I think, and then you deal with the consequences. That's what I'm saying. Don't use it intentionally, but if you have to in dire circumstances, that option is available to you, basically. You have the best view of Fuji right here. True. Japan is yeah, we talked about that. So yeah, so this Lake Asi right here gives you great views. Actually, I bet if we even come in here, we can see, yeah. So this is what I mean, right? Pictures like this is why you go to Hakone. And Hakone is just a nice area in general with cherry blossoms, great fall foliage, nice, a little jump into nature. Don't get me wrong, it's still very touristy. The weekends here are going to be incredibly busy, so I would try and book on a weekday when you're here. Yeah, it would be nice to be in a hot spring and see Fuji, writing it down. Yeah, I would splurge and get a nice ryokan resort in Hakone. And because there's so much tourism here, there's a lot of tourism support. So this is where you would have like a traditional kaiseki ryori meal, which is like a 16-course meal, basically. I would do that here as well. Most ryokan will offer it as an additive to your night stay there. So I would do that here. So spend some time in Hakone, ideally not on a weekend day. From there, you're going to sleep one, and then you're heading right to Kyoto. So, not Osaka right away, to Kyoto. Is it Japanese people tourism or gaijin? Both. Primarily gaijin, I would say. But if you go during a weekday, you have a better shot, right? Because there's going to be less Japanese people there. So, less people overall during a weekdays. So, I would go during a weekday. Just don't go during Golden Week like my friends did. that was yeah, very crowded. Okay. So from Hakone, I would continue down the line. And this is one of those things where if you want, you can go ahead and stop off. So like follow your Shinkansen track. If you want to have some lunch in Shizuoka or something, you can go ahead and do that. Shizuoka, I don't think, like, it's a really cool city, but there's nothing nearby the station in terms of attractions really that like everything's kind of way outside of it. So it'd be more of a day trip. And I wouldn't spend it in Shizuoka. So you could stop off, get food there. You could stop off, get food in Hamamatsu. Also on the way, if I go down the line here. Hold on, let me zoom out. Where am I? Oh, no, wait. Yeah, where's Hamamatsu? There you are. It was taking a while to find. And this is going to go along the coastline here. No, but, I would recommend something in particular. When you take this trip, specifically when you leave Hakone, if you can book a reserved seat on your Shinkansen, do the right side, because you have a chance at seeing Fuji again on the right side of the Shinkansen track. So as you're coming down here, basically past Itami towards Shizuoka, if you're on the right side of the Shinkansen, you can see right here, right about here, you're going to have a really good view of Fuji. So I would recommend get the right side of the Shinkansen when you're going between Hakone and Kyoto. That being said, it's a really, who knows if you're going to see Fuji or not. It's very often covered up by clouds and other things. So it's kind of a crapshoot. You might see part of it. You might not see the whole thing. It's actually like fairly rare to see the whole thing. There's some specific months that are great for it, but other months are really not good for it. I was actually incredibly lucky yesterday where it was completely clear yesterday. Like I went to Enoshima, which we're going to talk about later. And my friends and I, it was their last day. It just so happened, I never even thought about it. I forgot that you could see Fuji from Enoshima across the bay. Just so happened it was completely clear. So I had great Fuji views yesterday, but it is a crapshoot, so you never know. Okay. Moving on, now you're going to enter the Kansai region. So this in between, this mountainous region is the Chubu region, unless I'm mixing up Chubu and Chugoku. I think Chugoku's over here though. So that's the Chubu region. These are the mountainous regions of Japan. Little geography fun, little history fun. I love history. So let me wax poetic here for a sec. I love history and geography and how they interrelate. So let me talk for a sec about how cool this is. So this area of Japan right here, like Gifu, Nagano, Toyama, Chubu Sengoku National Park here, this is the Alps, as we talked about. The Alps actually run, if you look at the mountain range, you kind of trace the lines with the bad resolution here, you can see they run pretty much entirely through the center of the country, and then they all the way down, like all the way down through here, and then this whole area is also mountainous, and Fuji's right here, right? So historically, east and west were incredibly cut off in Japan, because it goes right up into the north coast, like right up into Itoigawa. There's actually a tectonic plate that divides two like tectonic areas in Itoigawa up here. So very hard to traverse in the past. So everyone had to take very few roads through the mountains, and it was really hard to move like massive armies through the mountains or anything like that. So it was always this divide between east and west in Japan just by a natural barrier. Very interesting. But anyway, now you're through Chubu and you're going to head to the coolest area ever, Kansai. Now, the reason Kansai is the coolest area ever is just take a look at the map. Yeah, mobilization nightmare, exactly. Take a look at the map, and you might notice something. You might notice that you recognize a lot of names here. And this is why Kansai kicks butt. Because if you look, these might be some names you recognize, like Nara, and Osaka, and Kobe, and Himeji, and Kyoto. That's because they're all in like an hour train radius of each other. That's why Kansai kicks butt. Is because all of these places are like 30 minutes to an hour accessible by train. So you can stay in Osaka, centrally located, have access to all of the other cool things in Japan. This is like traditional Japan. All of these areas have their own specialties. All of these areas have their own like interesting architecture and attractions and stuff. It's like, I think this is the coolest area of Japan by far. Kansai kicks butt, and it's all very well connected and has the same benefits as everywhere else in Japan. So exactly, that's why the Sea Road was very important. Now, Mordred, actually a flex option here you bring up is that wasn't the only route through the interior. So let me backtrack a little bit. There's also the route called the Nakasendo, which is the inner mountain route. So this was the lower sea route. The Nakasendo is the inner mountain route. And where that is specifically is basically up through here and down. Now, you can still walk this. So if you look over here, let me find it, Nakatsugawa, right here, Mount Enna. There's this really, really cool trip you can do if you want. You could do this like instead of the Hakone day if you don't want to relax, you're more of an adventurer or something like that. Instead, I would come up here from Nagoya, come to Nakatsugawa, and what you can actually do is, let me find the actual state. Here we go, Magome Juku, right here. So Magome Pass. This is a pass in the mountains between Nagano and I believe Gifu Prefecture. And you could still walk this. This is part of the original Samurai Trail. And there's these things called post towns. And post towns are basically just little like onwards towns that the samurai and other travelers would use to travel between, the east and the west. And they were just supported with like small like food areas, rest areas, horse maintenance and stuff like that. And some of them still exist from that original road. So you can do Magome to Tsumago, which is somewhere right over here, I believe. Yeah, Tsumago. You can walk this. So Tsumago Juku through the mountains, past the waterfalls, through the Magome Pass, to Magome Juku. It's not that bad. It's only like a 2-hour walk, I would say, 2.5-hour hike. And the elevation change isn't too crazy. It is stunningly beautiful. Absolutely one of the best things I ever did in Japan. I would walk this if you like nature. And it's cool because you get to follow the old Nakasendo inline mountain route, right? So you can imagine in the past, like, they had to manage this because there were mountain bandits and, just really, really cool stuff. So it's a hiking road pass, yeah. Exactly, hike like a samurai. It's super cool. So I would do that as a flex option if you don't want to, get chill in Hakone. You could also get rid of a Tokyo day to do that, or even get rid of an Osaka day to do that, or get rid of the Alpine route to do that instead, because you can do it coming around the other side. But we're going to talk about that again a little bit later. So moving on. Now we're in Kyoto. So we've taken the Shinkansen. As you can see, it actually runs north up through here. By the way, for those of you who like Pokemon, this is a fun fact. So the Pokemon regions are stylized after regions in Japan, right? Kanto's Kanto. Johto is Kansai. They are 1-to-1. Absolutely 1-to-1. Take a look at this map real quick. Okay, ready? Goldenrod City, Violet City, Ecruteak City, Cianwood City, and Olivine City. They're spread out exactly like Johto. And they are Johto. They're all inspired by those exact cities, and the geography is exactly the same. So, you know how there's that connector that you can connect to Violet in Gen 2 through up here in Ecruteak? There's that one way to come back down to Violet. Boom, right here. So Osaka, Goldenrod. It even has Goldenrod Tower. Kobe, Olivine. Even has Olivine Tower. Nara, Sprout Tower is literally a location you can go to here. So it is so cool. It feels like Johto too. Like and I like Johto. So ha. You ever hear the mold experiment thing? They used to make the train routes as efficient as possible. Oh yeah, where they don't they track mold or something? I've heard about that once, vaguely. They use slime mold and they track it to see where it goes for efficiency's sake, so they make less tunnels or something. Is that how that works? That's super cool. So yeah, it's Johto. So in terms of regions and stuff, Hoenn is also here, and this translates really well to the map of Hoenn as well. And then Hokkaido is Sinnoh up here, and it translates really well to Sinnoh. As you can see, it pretty much looks like Sinnoh if you turned it 90 degrees. So yeah, it's cool. It's really cool, and you really get the vibe too. They definitely just adapted some places 1-to-1. It's super sick, super sick. Okay, so back on it. Now you're in Kyoto. I'm going to give you, there's a night in Kyoto rather than Osaka, and there's a specific reason for that. So you're going to head from Hakone to Kyoto, right? And that first day, what I would do is when you arrive, do the west and central side of Kyoto. Kyoto's very evenly divided right down the middle in terms of attractions. The station's right in the middle. So if you see, let me zoom in. Here's Kyoto Station right here. So you come in right in the center of Kyoto, and then the central area and the western area is a good day one stuff because there's a little less to do, but there's still a lot of cool stuff. So on the west side, for example, well, you can do Nijo Castle, you can do the Imperial, I think the Imperial Castle is right around here somewhere, Toji Temple. Here it is, Kyoto Imperial Palace. It's a little more on the east side. Maybe I'd save that for the next day. But you can do like central, and then west side over here is like the bamboo path and stuff, like Arashiyama's over here as well, which is like a sick mountain, and there's a great bamboo forest over here that's very, very popular. One of the most popular areas in Japan. It gets very crowded. I would go here in the evening. You can still get good shots and less people will be there. So I would do west side of Kyoto for that day, right? So spend the day on the west side. Bunch of great stuff right around here at Tenryuji and Arashiyama, sorry, and some beautiful like bridge views. So for example, you know, we're in Kyoto. Things are beautiful. It's just how it is, right? Things are awesome in Kyoto. Great. Here's some fall foliage. Just absolute beautiful stuff in Kyoto all the time. Kyoto is like maybe the best single city if you discount everything around it. Like, having gone everywhere, I still like Kyoto the best because you still get modern stuff. Like, there's a mall right next to the station, but you have all of the old architecture too. You just walk through Kyoto and there's just temples constantly. Honnoji is also in Kyoto, which is where Oda Nobunaga died, which is really cool. That's just cool to visit too. Also, talking about Pokemon again, over here, Kinkakuji, which is specifically, hold on, where's Ginkakuji? Ginkakuji's up here somewhere. So Kinkakuji and Ginkakuji are the gold and silver temples. And yeah, if you remember in Ekritique, there's the Burn Tower and the other tower. That's just them. They literally have Ho-Oh at the top. Watch. Kinkakuji, ready? Golden Temple, ready? Check this out. Wow, what's that little figure at the top? Isn't that crazy? I wonder if we could zoom in on that. Hold on. Yeah, see that little figure at the top? Yeah, literally called Ho-Oh. Yeah, Brass Tower and Burn Tower or something. Yeah. Bell Tower. Yeah. Literally called Ho-Oh. Literally Ho-Oh. Tin Tower and Brass. Yep. Literally Ho-Oh. And there's one on the other one as well. So this is just, it's just Ekritique. And they're very cool to visit. So there's one on the west side, one on the east side. So there's like 2 Kyotos, I would say, right? So spend the first day, that first end of the day on that west side. Now, importantly, let me just make sure my itinerary is right here. Okay, yes. What I want you to do, take note of this. This is important. Even though you're on the west and the central side, you're going to book Kyoto directly right here. Where you're going to sleep, right here. Inari. You get as close to Inari Station as you can. Absolutely as close as you can. I don't care. You're going to cross the city. You're going to book here. So there's a bunch of cheap hotels here. Another thing about Japan, you can book last minute in Japan, and things tend to be very cheap. So you can even book day of and get like a $40 hotel. In fact, I booked at right outside of Inari Station. Fushimi Inari, for those who don't know, is if you've seen the pictures of Japan, you've probably seen this. It's the thousands of torii gate that go up the mountain, right? That's Fushimi Inari. It's the grand shrine for Inari, the fox god. And yeah, it's just like a path up a mountain. It's basically a Zen, like a monk mountain, basically. And there's a path that goes up the mountain. Hold on. There's a lot of pictures of the lower end, but it goes like this. There's just tens of thousands, I think 10,000 torii gates up the entire mountain. It is incredible. It's also number one, arguably, of popular attractions in Japan outside of Tokyo Skytree or the Tokyo Tower. There are so many people here, it's obnoxious. Like, literally 20,000 people here at once type deal. So here's what I recommend doing. A lot of people don't know this, but this feels like the joke, like the ducks are free at the park, you can take them home. People don't know this. Fushimi Inari and the mountain are open 24/7. A lot of people don't know that. They assume there's an opening time and a closing time because it's a mountain. Nope, open 24/7. Here's the big trick. You stay in Inari that night. You wake up at sunrise, you go. You go at sunrise or in the middle of the night. I went both. I did middle of the night and I did at sunrise, and you go up that mountain. Because at sunrise, you're going to avoid the crowds. I'm talking 5 a.m. Like, I'm talking literally 5 a.m. You get up at 5 a.m., you go walk up that mountain. Because you're going to have, like, the morning mist, quiet. The only people walking on the mountain will be, like, monks who, like, tend to it at that point in time. You're going to be no tourists. You're going to get all the pictures you want. It's going to be a mystical experience. Actually, the most magical experience I had in Japan. For those who were here for other streams, I did have a supernatural encounter when I went in the middle of the night. That was pretty wild. Yeah, it is fabulous. So go incredibly early in the morning or incredibly late at night. The reason why you have to stay here, though, is because the trains don't start running till 5 a.m. So unless you're at Inari Station, you're not going to make it in time, because come 7 a.m., 8 a.m., it's screwed. absolutely screwed, and it'll get worse throughout the day. So I wish I could show you. Hold on, let me show you a picture of crowd at Fushimi Inari. Hold on, just so you get an idea, because I really want to sell it to you. Don't try and do it in the middle of the day. Yeah, don't be here in the middle of the day. Just don't be here in the middle of the day. This is what you're gonna have to deal with, and you'll see this on the way down. Don't be here. Don't be here. It ruins everything about how cool the place is. So just don't be here. Okay, now I would recommend, if you're bold too, what I would do. Yeah, like I said, trains start running. Oh, here, but you know what? Let me give you a comparison though. Empty Fushimi Inari early morning. Comparison point. You get this to yourself if you go in the very, very early in the morning. So, you'll get all of this completely to yourself. It's super rad. Water usually flows downhill. People apparently flow uphill. Well, that is one thing too. So one saving grace, if you do have to go in the middle of the day, say something goes wrong, or you have to go there in the middle of the day, just keep going up. Most people do not go up the mountain. So once you're halfway up the mountain, the crowd will thin significantly, and you'll have a shot still of being kind of isolated once you get closer to the top. It's not a big hike. It's like a 45-minute up the mountain. But yeah, if you do find yourself there in the middle of the day, just go up. A lot of people won't make it there. A lot of people are lazy. The lights are sort of on 24/7. So there's enough lighting to... Okay. There's enough lighting to see. It is spooky in the middle of the night. It is definitely spooky. Like I said, I had a supernatural encounter. It was really cool. I've told that story before, but the long and short of it, if I'm going to post like a short about that story, basically I ran into a white fox, and white foxes aren't supposed to exist in Japan, except this is Fushimi Inari, which is the shrine of the main shrine of the fox god. And there is one place white foxes exist in Japanese lore, and it's, you know, messengers of the fox god, you know, the mountain I was on. So, yeah, that was cool. Anyway, yeah, during the middle of the night, you can encounter boar here. I did encounter boar. I encountered monkey, and there's a bunch of cats, too, so that's pretty cool. Nice cats, friendly cats, though. There's one cat that everyone sees. It's a notch-eared black cat, and it just hangs out around there. I see it every time I go, but it's really cool. Actually curious, could you compare crowds out there to crowds in America? You hate crowds with a passion, but I have a feeling it wouldn't bother me as much out here. Crowds are worse, but they're better. So crowds are more dense here, but they're better. People flow more naturally, so it's actually kind of comfy. I had this experience in Harajuku where I was in a crowd, but everyone was kind of like moving at a fairly normal pace, and you just kind of like let yourself get taken by the flow of it, and it's pretty chill. But it's not like a crowd in the US where people are like fighting and killing each other. So it's still respectful, I would say. But yeah, you're going to be shoulder to shoulder. You're absolutely going to be shoulder to shoulder. But one big problem about going to Fushimi Inari in the middle of the night is, aside from like the worries about boar and monkey and things like that you have to watch out for, Joro spiders. I'm sorry if you have arachnophobia. Joro spiders are these big spiders that can get up to like the size of your hand, and they just hang out in between the torii gates and like the trees above you at night. So not to instill paranoia or anything, but you're surrounded by spiders and you go in the middle of the night, to the point where like when I was getting closer to the top, I was like, okay, active spider watch out, because God forbid I walk into one of those. No way, man. No way. So that's one downside when you can't see is you have to deal with the monster spiders. They're not like aggressive or anything, but they're there, and that's enough. More dense crowds, but more intuitive crowd control. Yes, exactly, A-Pop. Morning commute's a crowd experience worth trying. I don't think any crowd experience is worth trying, maybe for the novelty, but if you actually want to get pushed onto the train, that only happens at a couple stations. I would like go to Ueno Station in Tokyo at rush hour, and then, yeah, you'll get pushed onto a train. Maybe same thing in Osaka, but outside of that, it's not really going to happen. Trains can get crowded, but you'll never get pushed on outside of those circumstances. Okay, so we talked about that. Now, for the rest of the day, since you're on the east side already, you're going to do the east side of Kyoto. Thing is, I would recommend a little rushing here. So, one of the other most popular sites in Japan is also on the east side of Kyoto, right here at Kiyomizu-dera. This is this viewpoint, if you've seen this picture before. So, ooh, that's beautiful. Oh my god. So usually, there's a few things you can look out from, but like these shots at Kiyomizu-dera, this shot, the very famous one that you see of like in every Japan travel guide, is from Kiyomizu-dera. But the problem with Kiyomizu-dera, as you can see, is if you look here, that temple, this is the shot, right? This is the picture shot from the temple that's kind of set into the mountains. But if you look, like you can see it here too, right? See these people here in the shot? You can go up here. So if you're, again, here a little later in the day, it's going to get very crowded. And once you get to this view location, there's going to be a ton of people over here on the right. So what I would recommend doing, it opens at 7 a.m. At least right now it does. So what I recommend doing is get up at 5, go do Fushimi Inari, right? And then you sprint to Kiyomizu-dera directly after that. So the trains will start running then, and there's a line that goes directly north here, as you can see. So what I'd recommend, 5 a.m., even 4:30 a.m., because the sun rises really, really early in Japan most days, at least when I was here during spring and early summer. And then you go from Fushimi Inari, you jump on the Inari Station train, you go north, get to Kiyomizu-dera, and you rush that thing. And you'll have a shot of getting there, both of them, before the crowds. I did. I was able to get a completely empty of people shot at Kiyomizu-dera and Fushimi Inari same morning. So really, like, buckle up, lock in, and rush, and get that done in the morning, I would recommend. That's, like, my big focus on that. The rest of the day, you can meander. Toji Temple, you can go to Kyoto Imperial Palace, but you really can only see, like, big walls there. Sometimes, it was closed, at least when I went there. Heian Shrine, Nazenji. There's a great path up here called the Philosopher's Path. Hey, welcome to a raid coming in. Vertebrae. Hey, what's up, Vertebrae? What's up? Thanks for the raid. We farting? What do you mean you're farting? I don't want to stinky raid. How could you do this? Welcome to the GM. What's up? What's up? You're not farting? All right, good. That's good. Glad you had the confirmation. We're talking about an ideal Japan itinerary right now. Welcome, Raiders. We're discussing, basically, let me shout out for Vertebrae as well, obviously. Farting up a storm, how could you? Welcome. All right, let me do Vertebrae. Shout out. Everyone follow Vertebrae. Great art streams, by the way. Amazing artist. Fabulous artist. Better out than in. Yeah, you don't want to hold it in because then bad things happen. That's true. But my body's nice to me and doesn't make me fart on stream, so I appreciate that. Yeah, so what we're doing is, just for a quick overview for the Raiders right now, let me show you. We're doing a stream about the optimal Japan itinerary. So I'm Alp at Allbench, by the way, Kirameki Fitness Idol. I am a fitness-based VTuber, but I'm also a bit of an adventurer and a traveler. I've been to every prefecture of Japan. I've spent time literally everywhere in the country. So I'm kind of creating an ideal, like, 2-week itinerary for people who's, like, first-timers and going through that. So I have that here, and we're only a little bit in. So we're talking about Kyoto right now. The TLDR, spend 3 nights in Tokyo, not longer. This is a 2-week trip. Head to Hakone, which is a great way to see Mount Fuji. Get a hot springs resort there. Head to Kyoto. And I was just explaining to everyone that you want to get up really, really early and stay on the east side of Kyoto so you can hit the best sites there. Specifically Fushimi Inari Shrine, which is, let me get lost again here. Somewhere over here. There we go. Right here. So you want to stay on the east side, hit that. That's where we're, just a quick TLDR to catch up. So... Oh, thank you. The best fitness VTuber. I'll take that to heart. I'll try my best. I'll get even more jacked and help everyone else get even more jacked too. Yeah. All right. So where we were, east side of Kyoto. So for the rest of that day, by the way, you were doing art earlier, weren't you, Vertebrae? What were you drawing today? I think I saw you in the art tag earlier. What were you drawing up? Drawing up a storm. So we're on the east side of Kyoto now. I would say, like, the rest of that day, welcome to the gym. Rest of that day, just go ahead and do, like, Nazenji Temple, Heian Shrine, Higashiyama, Jisho. There's very good access to all of these. So you can get between all these cool temples, get yourself absolutely templed out. You know what I mean? There's a really cool place up here called the Philosopher's Path too. It's really just a small path by the river. Let me see if I can search it up. But there's a lot of cool like shops and stuff along. It's very comfy. And yeah, it's like this. Again, very comfy place to go. And it's not very crowded. Almost no tourists go there. So you'd like to visit a kendo dojo. As you've been doing a hobby for a while, I think visiting Kendo Dojo would be amazing. Yeah. Tons of dojos around here. Ooh, thank you. Welcome to the gym. Tons of dojos around here, too. Whenever I book a place, I don't know what this is. Whenever I stay at, like, budget places, I always end up next to a Kendo Dojo, a boxing gym, or I forget what it's called. The swordplay dojo. I think it's just people don't like being there because of noise, but I think it's Kino because you get people yelling during the daytime, and it's not like they're doing it in the middle of the night, and you're in Japan. You're not going to spend all day in your hotel anyway. Thank you, Vertebrae. Thanks for the raid, and you go rest. You go get some food, get some nutrition, get some protein, and I'll catch you later. Thanks for raiding. Thanks for coming by. And we will continue. I will take everyone, and I'll teach them all about Japan. So I would go to the Philosopher's Path. It's a pretty nice little walk there. Now, if you are bold, You probably don't have time for this after everything because you only have one day here. But there is a really nice hike you can do as a flex option. So up here in the northeast of Kyoto, there is Mount Kurama and Kifune right here. So you can take a bus up here. Very, very beautiful area. So let me find here, like, I don't want Kurama Station, but there's some really sick stuff around here. Now, for those who know anything about, like, weird esoteric stuff, Mount Kurama is actually where Reiki was allegedly invented. The energy healing, natural healing thing, right? If you've ever heard about, like, esoteric stuff, like the weird energy healing, nature healing stuff, Reiki, that whole practice was invented on Mount Kurama. So it's kind of a neat place to go. It's a cool mountain in the north of Kyoto. Great little hike, about an hour and a half up and down. This is, again, a pass through the mountain, come out the other side type thing. Great little way to get into nature in northern Kyoto. That's not too out of the way. So really like Mount Kurama. That's a good hike. There's some beautiful stuff around the station too. Just good area in general. That's the good stuff. So Kyoto, that kind of does it for Kyoto. So you're spending 2 days here, more or less, to do the west side and then the east side. So that brings you here. Now, also, if you want to splurge again, there is a type of house in Kyoto called a machiya. It's a traditional Kyoto townhouse, basically, and you'll find them all over the place. But there are these, like, what you think of when you think of, like, Japanese houses, you know what I mean? Like, very traditional, cute little, like, right up next to each other. The interiors are beautiful, all that stuff. So, very, very nice. Oh, I also should mention while I'm here, so I would splurge and get one of these in Kyoto if you really want to. I would also mention one district that everyone really likes to visit is Gion. Gion is where geisha still exist. One of the few places in Japan where geisha still exist. Now, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to Gion, and I would do your own research too on, like, where you want to go in Kyoto. But Gion in particular is interesting because it was so kind of ravaged by tourism. They've actually banned you taking photos on the street, and I had heard rumors they banned the tourists entirely, but I don't think that was enforceable, and my friends were able to get there no problem. So I don't think the Gion ban is real, but Gion's a really cool place, and the deal with the geisha is geisha still do practice in very couple parts of Japan. I think it's in Kanazawa and here specifically that they still exist, and they're very hard to find. So it became a problem because people were basically hunting down geisha and taking photos of them and, you know, like touching them and stuff like that because they were so novel, right? Dumb tourist stuff. So obviously don't do that. But you can still go to Gion. You can still appreciate it. And you still may catch a geisha. You may see a geisha. My recommendation, there's a rule that applies throughout all of Japan. All of Japan. Which is what I call the one street over rule. Which is if you're in a tourist area and it's very crowded, go one street over. Nobody will be there. It'll be completely abandoned because everyone's so laser focused when they're on tourism in Japan that they're always like the main street and they don't think outside of that. So say you're even on one of the main tourist streets and you need to get back to the station fast, go one street over and then track backwards. Here's what happened to me in Gion. When I was in Gion last time, let me get some pictures here for reference points. Let me get the main street. It's going to be hard to actually find pictures of the main street of Gion because photography is banned. But yeah, it's like this basically. You can see that was a little cheeky photo right there. Here we go. Yeah. What you can do is there's so many alleyways off of Gion that still have the traditional aesthetic of Gion. And what I've found is that there are just geisha there. So little secret tip. But if you go on the main street of Gion and you don't see anything, because like there's whole guides on how to find geisha. Like, you know, they'll say something like, oh, you have to go at this time of day and then wait for a car to pull up and then they might come out of the car to go to their client type deal, right? I literally turned a corner into an alleyway and ran into one. Like, you can, like, just go one off because there's no one in the alleyways and there might be a geisha. That's my suggestion if you do want to see one. And be respectful, obviously. Don't take photos. I didn't take photos. I just said hi. Almost ran into her. So I just said hi nicely and moved on and stuff like that. But something to keep in mind. Okay. So that's Kyoto for you. If there's one area in Japan I would spend more time in, if I could, it would be Kyoto. I might, like, I'm right near Kyoto right now. I'll probably just go on a few day trips there over the next few days. Don't get me wrong. I'm in Osaka. That's where I always stay when I'm based in this area. But yeah, go to Kyoto, spend some time there. Also, a fun little aside. Again, you probably don't have the time for this because of how packed the schedule is. But for Pokemon fans, Otsu right here. This is the Lake of Rage. For Pokemon fans, Lake Biwa is the Lake of Rage. So if you want to see Lake of Rage, you can shoot right there from Kyoto, very quick on the JR line right here. So, and you have a JR pass, ideally. So, okay. So from there, we've done Kyoto. Now we're going to jump a little bit. we're going to go to Hiroshima. Himeji. Now, this is kind of American. Gyarados population is doing okay. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible. This is more of an American tiered list. Don't get me wrong, because Americans have a fascination with seeing Hiroshima. It's a great city to visit. I'm an American, but there's a fascination with visiting Hiroshima, and so it's part of the Golden Route, even though the Golden Route really ends in Kyoto and Osaka. Pretty much every single American goes to Hiroshima, or just people interested in general, because, you know, Hiroshima was wiped out. It was wiped out entirely. So because of that, it's actually a very nice city. And not saying that in like a, oh man, that's great that happened sort of way. All to say is just as a result of what happened in Hiroshima, it was rebuilt entirely from the ground up. So everything's very new there, and it's a different type of vibe compared to the old Japanese cities with a lot of old architecture and stuff like that. And there's cool stuff to do in Hiroshima too. And obviously, you know, the silent contemplation of visiting the atomic bomb memorial and stuff like that. So from here, what I would do is this. You're staying in Kyoto that night on the east side, right? Next morning, I would head for Himeji. So let's get back on the Shinkansen. We're going to bypass Osaka at this point, right? But don't worry, we're going to get to Kobe. Head over to Himeji. And the reason why is if you're going to visit one castle in Japan, you visit Himeji Castle. So it's right off the line. Himeji's great because it's literally the station and then a main street here with a bunch of shopping on it. And then you get into the castle park. So it's super easy, like early morning. You don't even need a day trip for this or a half day. You can do it in like 2 hours if it's not a busy day. But the reason why you want to visit Himeji Castle is it is the best preserved castle in all of Japan. So most castles in Japan were destroyed during World War II, or they were burned down. Pretty much everything in Japan burned down at some point, right? Himeji Castle is one of the few that still is original. Obviously, it's had some renovations, but in terms of one castle to visit Himeji, because you can also go inside of it. So it's a small fee, and you can go inside Himeji Castle as well. So definitely stop in Himeji. Here's a view from inside Himeji. As you can see, like I said, the station and that main street right there, coming right to the castle. Absolutely worth a stop off. If you're going to visit one castle, visit here. That's my big recommendation. Himeji, again, maybe a morning. Doesn't need a full day, I would say. Doesn't need a full day. So from Himeji, you're actually going to keep going, and I'm going to get you to this little place called Kurashiki. This is a flex option. You don't have to do this. But again, following the line, we're going to keep going on that Shinkansen line, head west, head to Okayama. You're on your way to Hiroshima still, so it's not like out of the way or anything like that. Now, if you go to Okayama, then you take this line south. You're going to end up in Kurashiki, or sorry, west and then south. You're going to end up in Kurashiki Station. Now, the real deal with Kurashiki, if anyone knows like Japanese lore, this is allegedly where Momotaro was born, the Peach Boy, right? But it's also just a really nice area. So this Beacon Historical Quarter right here by the river, beautiful area. Nice little visit, again, traditional stuff. So you get this whole view, basically, a bunch of food stalls, bunch of shops along the side, nice little river. There's a lot of tourists here, but it's a calm place. It's very nice. Very cool stop off. So stopping off in Kurashiki is recommended, I would say. If not, just keep on going to Hiroshima. You could do it all in one day if you get up early and haul. Looks like a more calm Sotenbori. Well, we're heading to the real Sotenbori later. So keep that in mind, because we're gonna stay in the real Sotenbori. So we're gonna head here to Hiroshima now. I would recommend staying in Hiroshima. Sleep in Hiroshima. Give yourself a full day here between one night and one afternoon, I would say, because this day is going to be primarily a travel day and a bit of Osaka. So go to Hiroshima, stay here. Check out the atomic bomb dome, right? Hiroshima is a little spread out. You can go up a ropeway and get a nice overview of the city, but it's a really neat city because it is so new. So it looks very nice. Everything's well organized in Hiroshima. And this is where you can also take a little ferry to Itsukushima if you want to see those famous torii gates in the water, this view, stuff like that. Look at that, because it comes right up there, middle of the day. It's really neat. So it's a great place to visit. Just be careful, because you're going to end up this is only one ferry, and you'll end up behind tour groups, which makes it really hard to get off the island. So just be aware of time of day when you're hitting Itsukushima. But yeah, you can do all that in Hiroshima. Great place to stay too. Have some fun. Check out the atomic bomb dome, Hiroshima Castle, all that stuff. There's actually still parts standing from the original Hiroshima that they have there, basically around the atomic bomb site. So you can actually even see what was left behind, which is this right here. Because it air bursted directly above this, if I remember correctly. So it was the exact spot, more or less, that the bomb fell. And then from Hiroshima, you stay your night in Hiroshima. Now you're going to come all the way back. So this is where flex happens. If you're on a 3-week trip, we're going to do Osaka in the next part. Arguably, you could have done Kyoto in the next part too. But if you have an extra week, this is where you keep going. If you have an extra week here, an extra 7 days, don't stop at Hiroshima. You stay in Hiroshima, and now you keep going to Fukuoka. We're going to cover this real quick because this is going to be a 2-week itinerary stream, not the 3-week one. But say you do have 3 weeks, spend a week here in Kyushu. This is Hoenn region in Pokemon, for comparison's sake. Fukuoka is an awesome city, maybe the second best food in all of Japan if you're in the Nakatsu district, which has these nice yatai night stalls. Hold on. I think it's Nakasu. Nakasu Hakata word, yeah. So this is really near the station too. But if you look here, Fukuoka's in the south, has these great views here. Awesome little district for nightlife. Bunch of partying. It's like, it feels a little bit like Osaka, honestly, at night. And there's a bunch of great food in this area too. So this is a great place to be at, like a base, honestly, for your week. If you have an extra week, yeah, Slateport, yeah, exactly. If you have an extra week and you're gonna go to Kyushu, I would base out of Fukuoka because you have Shinkansen here that goes everywhere. Now, don't get me wrong, Shinkansen does start to get more sparse around here. It's not as well connected. Getting to Nagasaki is a little bit of a trip. So Nagasaki's all the way down here. Shinkansen does run partially down to Nagasaki, but you have to take a normal Nagasaki line first, and then from Takeo, you can actually Shinkansen down to Nagasaki. But it's a bit of a trip. It's nothing crazy, a couple hours or something like that. But you can get to Nagasaki from here. It's worth it too. Some great views around Nagasaki. You can go to what I would recommend is one of my favorite train trips in all of Japan. This is a really big one. So this day sucks. I'm going to preface that. Doing this day is really hard and it sucks and requires a lot of like tight connections, but you can do it, which is like an 8-hour train journey around a super volcano. So in Aso-Kuju here, there is Mount Aso, which is a super volcano. It is poisonous up at the top. Like the top is one of those places where it's like you can only go up at certain times because of poison, because of sulfur problems. But the area, this is Kusa Senri, it's shaped like a giant skull. The area around here is so incredible. It's an alien landscape. It's like being on Mars. It's super cool. Nakadake Crater 1 here is amazing. So yeah, it's like an alien landscape up here. The grandness can't be described. It's a super volcano. It's huge. And what you can do is actually, if you Shinkansen down to Kumamoto, you can take a limited express train. I think it's called the Aso, and then up here it's called the Yufuin no Mori. So you take it basically across, not like up, but like right past the mountain, so you can see the mountain. You can stop off and go up it if you want, if you have the time. And then you can come through Oita, which is going to be Beppu right here, is known for its hot springs, and it smells like sulfur. The whole city smells like sulfur. Oita also has like ash rain, where it rains like ash and stuff like that. It happens in Kagoshima too. Hey, welcome to the gym. So you can do that, and then you can take the train back through this way, and there's a little village called Yufuin right here. That's a floral village. It's really cool. Like in Yufu. Let me find Yufuin Station. I believe it's Yufuin right here. Yeah, Kinri Lake, and this area is a nice little place to visit. Just a bunch of like, it's like a foresty town, basically. A great tourist destination, and it's really comfy on your way back. Beautiful stuff here in Yufuin. But it's a long trip to do all that, because like they're not fast trains, so this is like an 8-hour round trip if you want to really see Kyushu, you know what I mean? Beppu makes me think of Lava Ridge. I think it might be. It might be Lava Ridge. These do track 1-to-1 to Hoenn, but I don't know them very well. But they do track 1-to-1 to Hoenn pretty well. So you can also, Kagoshima's worth a visit. It's a lot faster than it looks because it's on the Shinkansen line. So you can get from Fukuoka to Kagoshima in like under 2 hours, I believe. And from here, this is where you can also see another beautiful Sakurajima, another beautiful active volcano right off the coast of Kagoshima. This right here, you can take a helicopter over this if you want. Bunch of cool stuff there. Kagoshima is also just a sick city. Really nice city. Good stuff to see here. Well laid out. Good food. They have a specific, I think it's Kumamoto or Kagoshima, has black pork as a specialty. And it's just a really, really nice, it's like the Wagyu of pork, I guess I would say. You want to just take a Shinkansen ride because Shinkansen, yeah, absolutely. Oh, Shinka Lion. Yeah. No, absolutely, Takumi. I take Shinkansen constantly. I was on one last night. I'll be on one tomorrow. I took like 100 Shinkansen rides while I was here. I love trains. So it's also really cool. 3 things to consider. So 3 types of trains that you should be aware of. Local trains are what you think of when you think of a train, right? They're like the standing ones you see. They're the ones with the grips. Let me see. Hold on. Japanese local train. Because there's a type of train I want to show you and tell you about that a lot of people don't know about. So if you look at local trains, yeah, these bad boys, right? On the inside, it looks like this. The seating's like on the side, and you have the standing handles. There's another type of train that's not a Shinkansen called a Limited Express. Limited Express train, Japan. These are so cool if you're a nerd. These things are sick if you're a nerd. So, the train mecha anime. If you're a huge train nerd, these things rock, because the deal with Limited Express is they are reserved and non-reserved. So they have seating arrangements that are like, this is a fancy one, but they have seating arrangements that are side by side, kind of like a Shinkansen, but they're not a bullet train. And they're all different. You see all these, here's a Limited Express seating arrangement. And you see how there's so many different types of them. They're all styled differently. So this one's like Limited Express Asuza. This one's La View. There's a panda themed one, Hitachi Limited Express, the Spacia X. They all have cool anime names. And so their deal is they run on the local lines, not the Shinkansen lines, but they stop at less stations and they go a little bit faster. So these might go like 90 miles per hour instead of 60, but they're not going like 180 or 200 like Shinkansen are. But they're faster and they're all themed. And they have cool names like Ioni Yoshi and like Asuza and like, oh man, Thunderbird and stuff like that. God, what's my favorite? There's Super Inaba. There's so many cool ones. Yeah, casual 800k Shinkansen jump scare. Oh. So Limited Express are really, really cool. I actually took the Asuza a couple days ago. I took the Asuza because I was in the Hakuba region. But yeah, they're super sick. They all look different, and they're like my favorite type of train because they tend to be not crowded during the weekday at all, like Shinkansen are. And they're, I guess the downside when you're doing a lot of train travel, right? The downside, if you have extra time like I did and you're there for like 3 months, downside of taking Shinkansen is that they go into tunnels very often, but Limited Express trains are on the local lines. So you get a much better view of the country on a Limited Express, and you have the benefits of having a seat and not being crowded out, and it's, fast still. So Limited Express really are like the best train if you want to sightsee, I would say, and the specific sightseeing trains too. So, but to rewind, if you're in Kyushu, yeah, go to Kagoshima. That's a good day trip. I would say, yeah, Aso is a great day trip. You can go to Beppu for some hot springs, Nagasaki. Plenty to do here with a week. I've spent like 2 weeks in the area, so. Shinka Lion's airing a 3rd season currently. Ooh, I've never watched it. I never watched the Shinkansen or the train anime. I just really liked trains from being in Japan. Like I appreciated trains, and then I spent a lot of time in Japan and became a train nerd and tried to like take every Limited Express train that's reasonable to take. So. But yeah, if you don't have that extra week, Hiroshima is going to be your western stopping point for this trip, basically. So we're going to be right here, basically. We're going to be sleeping in Hiroshima. If you see that blue is Hiroshima, we're now about halfway into the trip at this point for the 2-week variation. So that being the case, you're 2 weeks in, you're halfway. Now what we're going to do, we're going to head back one trip all the way to Osaka, where we're going to be staying for a few days. Osaka is going to be our base for a few days. Now, where you want to stay in Osaka? 2 places, Namba or Dotonbori. So, Osaka's big. There's a lot of wards to Osaka, a lot of stuff to see. But the best parts of Osaka are all together, I would say, especially for people who are younger and like to party. Now, let me actually like navigate to it. Here we go. So here's Umeda. This is also a really popular spot, Osaka Umeda. And that's a great place to check out as well. Shin Osaka is going to be your Shinkansen stop. But where we want to be is Dotonbori. You've heard of Dotonbori before, even if you haven't. Dotonbori is Sotonbori in Yakuza. It's also where the Glico Man, I forget this guy right here. This area. This is like one of the most popular areas to just hang out in all of Japan. Nightlife is insane in Osaka. If you want to party, if you want to drink, if you want to dance, if you want to just have night food that's like never sleeps, this is where you want to be. Look at this. Dotonbori is jumping. This is where I stay every time. This is where I am right now. I'm not directly outside the street, but I'm only a couple streets away from the picture you see right now. And yeah, Dotonbori is just an amazing place to stay. Namba is also a great place. Oh man, love me Osaka. Dotonbori is a great place to stay. Also, yeah, right around here too is Namba. We can look at the Namba Walk, and the Namba Walk leads directly into Dotonbori. It's like right nearby, and these are all just like food and shopping and stuff like that. This is the underground mall in Namba, but there's an above ground portion as well. And it just goes like throughout the entirety of like part of underground Osaka. It's just a cool city. And the vibes are better too than Tokyo. You even have 3 Shinka Lion toys. Nice. Looking at this and the jazzy Yakuza battle music playing in your head. Yeah, exactly. There's actually a really funny story in Dotonbori. And I don't know, they might have done this in, let me tell a story real quick. They might have done this in Yakuza, but this is a funny story. So the Dotonbori River right here is pretty legendary. And the reason why is we talked earlier about the baseball team, the Hanshin Tigers, right? So the story goes that back in the day, the Hanshin Tigers. This is, I think, back in the 70s or 80s. The Hanshin Tigers won the national championship of Japan, the baseball championship, right? And there was a white guy on the team. I forget what his name was, but he won like the hitting score, basically. He did the winning score. And so all the Hanshin Tigers fans, which are notoriously rowdy, came out to the Dotonbori River and started partying. They were throwing themselves in the river. They were just absolutely going insane, right? For Japan, that sort of partying is not common. Now, they wanted to celebrate, but they couldn't find a white person to celebrate with. So allegedly, they went into the KFC and took the Colonel statue, the Colonel Sanders statue in the KFC, and they threw it in the Dotonbori River. And then after that point, they never won a national championship ever again. So the story goes that throwing Colonel Sanders from KFC into the Dotonbori River cursed them. And so many attempts were made over the decades to find him in the river and fish him up so that the curse would end and the Hanshin Tigers would be able to win again. Now, apparently a couple years back, I guess what happened is they found the Colonel in the river, and it was missing his hand, though. And so they pulled him up, and I think the Hanshin Tigers got to, like, I don't think they won, but I think they got, like, to the finals that year. And so everyone's like, we have to find the hand. So I just think it's a really funny story about Osaka and the vibes of Osaka and the Dotonbori River. It's a sick place. But what I'm going to recommend is you stay many nights in Osaka because there's tons of day trips out of Osaka. And I think it's better to stay in Osaka just for the fun that you can have every single night in Dotonbori. So one day the hand will be found. Yeah. So stay here. So you're coming from Hiroshima. You can explore the day a bit. So my friends decided to do Himeji on this end rather than on this end so they could spend more time in Kyoto. That's also an option. But you can, just spend more time in Osaka. There's great time to spend like at Umeda. A bunch of things you can see in Osaka at large before you spend all your time in Dotonbori. It's a big city. Osaka Castle's all right. And there's some great views. Sutenkaku is a district I would go to here. This is the old style district. This is actually Goldenrod Tower. If you think about Pokemon. So this was an old radio tower basically, and the district's really Showa era. It feels very like nostalgic almost. It's also very close to Osaka's version of Akihabara, which is Denden Street, which is their like anime street, right? But the cool thing about it is like everything in Osaka is just slightly more busted than in Tokyo, like slightly more run down, has more soul to it. So the anime street in Osaka feels like it's from the mid 2000s. So all the artwork isn't modern like it is in Akihabara. It's all like mid 2000s anime. It's so cool. It's so cool. There's legacy here. Yeah. So hold on, let me see if I can even find a picture of it. Yeah, Nipponbashi Denden Town, I believe is what believes what I want. So this is their version of Akihabara, but let me see if I can find some of the old signs because there's like some really sick old mid 2000s anime signs and stuff like that. It's super sick. It feels a little older than Akihabara. Yeah, here we go. Like, look at the animate here and like what the advertisement is at the front here, like some Toho-esque stuff. Is the BGM what you think it is? It depends. Are you a big fan of Trails of Cold Steel? In which case, yes, it is. Are you a big fan of Nihon Falcom Corporation, like I am, my favorite game company of all time? Then yes, it is. I think right now is Back to the Dorm from Trails of Cold Steel 1, I believe is my BGM right now. I switch it up sometimes, so I might be wrong. You recognize it easily? Yeah. All right, so yeah, Denden Town's also a great place to visit in Osaka. Osaka has a lot you can explore. There's some great observation towers as well, but realistically, I just kind of want you to stay here as a day trip outwards of it, and then Dotonbori is where you're going to hang out at night and have some good times. So, stay in Dotonbori. Here's your first night. Okay, boom. Osaka fun. We had nightlife in Dotonbori. We went partying. Now we wake up the next morning. Let's go to Kobe. Half day. So Kobe, a lot of the towns around don't need a full day. You could. Kobe is like one of the best. I hear Kobe is one of the best places to live in all of Japan for expats because expats is a lot better unless you're Japanese, unless you're ethnically Japanese and you're fluent in Japanese. It's a lot better to live out here than it is in Tokyo because Tokyo is very impersonal. It's a lot like East versus West in the US, where like the East Coast is very fast paced, very business oriented and stuff like that, and kind of impersonal, like New York, right? Vibes. Everyone's very busy, and I've heard over and over again from expats that it's really hard to make friends in Tokyo outside of other expats. But Osaka's way more welcoming. It's way, like, the vibes are way better. And Kobe is a version of that where it's like, okay, if I don't want to stay in the city, right, and I don't have to deal with like all of the crowds and stuff like that, Kobe is directly outside of Osaka, easily accessible. It's a great place to live. I've heard that over and over and over again. Sometimes there's cyber formula themed events with IRL Asurata replicas. Ooh, nice, nice. So yeah, day trip to Kobe. It's like 30 minutes on the train. It's really nothing. But the thing about Kobe is Kobe's where Kobe beef comes from. Wagyu. There's Wagyu in every prefecture pretty much, which just means like a high quality beef. But the beef here is insane. So go to Kobe. Enjoy the beef. And one of my favorite things about Kobe is it's what I call... I see you. What's up, Cayenne? Kobe's what I would consider garden punk. Hear me out on this. This area right here, if you look at Shin Kobe Station, where you're coming in on the Shinkansen, notice that there's a mountain directly behind the station. This is actually super cool. Hey, welcome to the gym, buddy. This is actually super sick, but the second you walk out of Shin Kobe Station, there's a ropeway directly next to it to an herb garden. That's beautiful. So take a look at this. I might even go here again, like in a day or two. So here's Kobe, and here during like the spring is a beautiful, beautiful flower garden at the top. It's very European themed. And it's up a mountain. You can hike up here as well, and you can hike down. But it gives you beautiful views of Kobe, bunch of flowers. It smells amazing. My heart was happy when I was here. And it's directly behind the station. There's also a waterfall here on the hike down. So this is something I think is really, really cool. I don't think I can find you a picture of it, but I call it garden punk because directly behind the station, you got the ropeway. You go up the mountain, right? And then you can go down the flower area. It actually, the waterfall and all of that, like the river and everything, comes out directly under the station. So it feels like the station's just in nature because like the waterfall empties to the bottom of the station to the point where there are people who grill and have like cookouts under Shin Kobe Station. It's so cool. It's like the coolest thing ever. So I'd highly recommend doing that in Kobe. So it's a nice day, right? You come in 30 minutes, maybe you partied really hard, so you're waking up late because you partied in Dotonbori. So you wake up and you're going to go up the ropeway midday, enjoy a nice flowery, get back into nature, get some flowery smells. And then you come down, have some Kobe beef, really eat it up because Kobe's not that thick. So you can get across the city pretty easily. There's some cool like Port Island stuff out here. Kobe's a great half-day trip. So just enjoy yourself in Kobe. Beautiful. Should go to Japan one day. It's your current dream. It was mine too, man. And it was worth every second of it. I spent, like my first trip, I spent 3 months here. I just was like, you know what? Quarter of the year in Japan? Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. So Kobe's great. So from Kobe, you're going to do a half day. And then I recommend, this was for my friends and I. So my friends and I partied a lot in Osaka and we had people to hang out with in Osaka. So we kept coming back there every night. You could stay in Kobe if you wanted to. You don't have to stay in Osaka every night. It's just like Dotonbori is so cool. And it's just so easily accessible. You can walk, like if you're on Dotonbori at a hotel that are fairly cheap, actually, you can walk right out your door, have food, have access to everything you could ever need. So it's efficient and there's good train connections. So I like staying there, but you could also stay in Kobe if you wanted to. Great place to stay. So either way, you're going to go to bed after Kobe half day, assuming you're tired from the previous day, right? Next day, let's go to Nara. Because once again, we can take nice day trips directly out of Osaka. So this time, we're going to head up to Nara. You could also get here through Kyoto. There's our Kyoto-Nara line here, but the faster way is through Osaka. And you're going to head, where am I? Right here to Nara. Somewhere around here. There it is. So right to the east is going to be Nara. That's what's known for the deer park, obviously. There are deer all over Nara. There's 2 stations you're going to find yourself at, too. So you're either going to come to JR Nara or Kintetsu Nara. I would probably come in one and leave the other because one's a little closer to the action. West side of Nara, I wouldn't really bother with unless you have a lot of time there. There's some temples and some like old castle grounds and stuff because fun fact, Nara was actually one of the original capitals of Japan before Kyoto or Tokyo. Back in like the 7th or 6th century, Nara was actually one of the first capitals of Japan. So there's some really old stuff. Like Nara, you'll be walking around and just be like, oh yeah, this temple was built in 700. Just stuff like that, Really cool place. But Nara JR brings you closer, Kintetsu Nara brings you closer to the park, which is where you're going. But there's a great shopping street along the way here. So if you go to JR Nara and you have the JR pass, you also don't pay any money. So I would go up that way. And then you come into Nara Park. The east side of Nara is where you're going to focus all of this stuff. So, by the way, speaking of Nihon Falcom Corporation, this just feels like a Ys name location. Mount Kasuga Primeval Forest. Feels like it's from a Ys game. Really cool place, though, to hike. Good hiking up in here. I hike this. And yeah, just great waterfalls, very ancient forest, very old forest, right? And Nara is great too because you have the deer park leading right up to it with Kasuga Taisha, which is a cool little shrine in the woods. But this whole area and botanical gardens, you can see how many parks there are around here. Nara Park. Somewhere around here also is what Sprout Tower is based off of. It's under construction right now though. So Todaiji, I believe. Oh no, Kufukuji. Todaiji is nice, but Kufukuji is what we want here. This is Sprout Tower from Pokemon, as you can see on the right there. But it's under construction right now, so you can't get really close. Kind of sucks. The Omiya Railroad Museum. Yeah, there you go. Omiya. Omiya's in... I passed through there yesterday morning. That's in Saitama, isn't it? I think Omiya's... Yeah, north of Tokyo and Saitama. Which I won't go... Don't go to Saitama if you only have a couple-week trip. There's no point. Saitama is like... A lot of people who live in Japan feel like Saitama is just hell. And it's just really a big city that doesn't have too much of an identity on its own. That is meant... I feel like it supports Tokyo. That's like why it exists. Although up that way you can, if you really like Initial D, I think that, like the Initial D mountain in Gunma is out that way. Is out like right past or near Omiya, so. Shinkalion frequently features at the main base for the pro tags. Gotcha. Yeah, Omiya's alright. It's an alright city. I've only been fairly briefly once. I passed through there a lot though. Alright, so yeah, because I'm very, as you can tell, I'm very nature-based. I'm very nature-pilled. So I like cities, and we're even almost in the cities more than I'd like on this trip because I really like going to the outskirts. But anyway, Nara. This is where you feed your deer. Quick tip about Nara, though. Don't blow your load because you're going to get right here and start feeding deer. Like right here. And you're going to be like, oh my god, deer. And they're going to buy deer crackers. The thing about it, the deer here are incredibly overfed because this is where everyone comes in and blows their deer crackers, right? So don't spend them here. Get deeper. The deeper you go, there's still going to be deer, and they're going to be in the woods. There's going to be much better photo opportunities along these paths in the woods, and there's going to be plenty of deer, and they're going to be a lot hungrier than the deer out front. So go a little deeper before you start feeding the deer. Another sick thing you can do is this right here. This hill, Wakakusayama, is a little hike you can do through the primeval forest. When you come out of Kasuga Taisha, you can connect right to it. It's a great hike. Awesome little hike, probably about an hour. Awesome views through the primeval forest, and this is awesome at the top here. Let me show you this view. It's a mountain that they've manicured, so they've mowed the mountain, and because of that, the views are incredible. You can see like all of Kansai almost. Here's some deer, so you can see like everywhere from the top here, and it's a completely bald mountain face like this, and it almost feels like a Pokemon route is the best way to describe it. Like walking down it feels like you're on a Pokemon route, because it's like a well-trodden path and it's well manicured and coming down this mountain, and you're, you know, technically outside of Violet City. You can tell I'm biased, but it's a really cool hike. I would recommend doing in Nara, and like the streets, food all over Nara is great. So beautiful little place, Nara. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. See, doesn't that feel like a Pokemon route? Like, man, it looks like National Park. Yeah, kind of does, doesn't it? Kind of does. I wonder why. But yeah, it's pretty sick. Nara's a cool place. Nice day trip. You can stay here too. Like a lot of people stay in Nara. A bunch of cool places you can stay closer to the woods in Nara as well. So I just, wouldn't bother too much unless you have a lot of time with the west side. There is great stuff over here. It's just like we have to consider that we have 2 weeks. And, you know, doesn't Kyushu have a space center? It does, yes. I believe Kagoshima is the space center. Space center. Or it's off the island. Oh, where is it? JAXA. Tsukuba Space Center. Well, okay, so this is the JAXA exhibition hall. This is in Tsukuba. This is the north of Tokyo. That's different. But if you like Japan, like this is near Tokyo. So if you like Japan stuff, and even though it looks far away, this is accessible because Tsukuba Express is a line that runs, this line right here runs directly into Tokyo. So you're pretty close. This area is actually where I ended my prefecture journey last time. I came full circle at Tsukuba. So this area is special meaning for me. I kind of started here and then ended here when I circumnavigated the whole country. I really like this area because of that. And it's a cute little, cute little area. You find pleasure in small things once you've been here a while. So anyway, yeah, Kyushu does have a space center. I just forget where. It might be off the coast of Kagoshima. Oh, here it is, Tanegashima. Yep, it's here. If you played Robotics Notes, I think Robotics Notes takes place partially here. Yakushima Island's also the rabbit island, so that's also off of Kagoshima if you've heard about that one. That's like the abandoned island with rabbits and stuff. But Tanegashima is where the Space Center stuff is. And it's like a... Look, it's even Robotics Notes, the location. Wow, I didn't know that. That's cool. So yeah, I've never been here, but I don't think I can get there on this trip. But next time I go to Kyushu, I would spend more time there because I was definitely whirlwind touring. I've spent like maybe 2 weeks in Kyushu, But yeah, that's where that is, right off the coast. And then Okinawa is, Hawaii, where we got to go close to, here we go. We got to go close to Taiwan to get to Okinawa. So not on this trip, but Okinawa is a really cool place, and I would go there. Anyway, back to what we were doing. So we did our day trip to Nara. Where am I? Nara. Day trip to Nara. Go ahead back and sleep in Osaka. Now, you have this extra day here. So if you liked any day in particular, this day right here, if you liked any day in particular, you can go ahead and just spend more time there. It's kind of like a free flex option day. However, there is a recommendation I have, which is really, really fun thing. If you want to see like village stuff, south of Nara is a little village called Asuka. And Asuka is interesting because, let me find it. Asuka right here. Asuka is really interesting because Asuka Village is actually the mythological origin of Japan point. Again, this is like, I think most Japanese people, like, it's mythology, and well, it doesn't seem like many Japanese people even like really follow it or anything like that. But I talked about this on a previous stream, but in Japanese history, Japan has the longest running monarchy. It's traced line to line, bloodline to, like, through the bloodline, it's been traced since the 600s. But before that, there was these, I believe it was 7 or 12, like, mythological emperors of Japan that were, like, the first ones ever, right? But they're mostly mythology, and they're, like, descendants of gods and stuff. And one of them, the first one, was named Emperor Jimmu. And Jimmu's tomb is right around here. And this was allegedly where Japan started. And that might even be true because there's so many ancient tombs here in this Asuka village area, Asuka-dera, this tiny village right here. And it's so interesting because it's like, it's so well, like, if you look at the history of it, it's maybe where Japan started, but it's not touristy at all. There's almost no tourist support here. It's just a small farming village, but there's tombs around, and like the first emperor is allegedly enshrined around here in Kashihara Jingu, right over here. But the nice thing you can do in Asuka is if you get off at the station, you can rent an e-bike and e-bike around the entire area. And it's just so sick because it's such a nice little small village that like you'll be e-biking around and like on like, road routes and stuff. It's just this. Like there's a bike route, right? So you can even see the bike route over there. It's just like biking around in like the rice fields in a beautiful day, small farming town, but also holds incredibly historical significance. Incredible historical significance. So I would definitely recommend going here for a day trip. If you don't want to spend time at the other places you've already been, check out Asuka Village. Really good hidden gem. Really good hidden gem. You're well versed with tech related stuff. Naturally, you want to find retro tech. If you want to find retro tech, go to Akihabara, honestly, because Akihabara has a lot of old electronic shops. I've even been like, I want to live in Akihabara for a month and just tinker with old PCs and stuff like that, because you can get them very easily in Akihabara in like the underground stores and stuff. Casual swastika. Okay, you're not finishing the jump scare. Yeah. I think it's the manji is what it's called. But yeah, it's a traditional. Listen, it's Buddhist, I believe, or something like that. Yeah, but Asuka Village is a great place to go if you have an extra day. It's like you kind of have to get up early if you want to do it, but it's definitely worth e-biking around there. Very doable too. Your e-bike will not run out of battery. I biked around there for like 5 hours. All right, so from there we're getting towards the end of the trip. This is where things are going to get spicy because I'm like, listen, we've done the golden route. We've done what everyone else has done. Let's do something that not many tourists do on their first time, but it's going to really show you a part of Japan that you haven't seen before, because we've done a lot of the southern ocean route of Japan, right? We've seen ocean this whole time. Let's get into some mountains. How about that? Let's get some mountains going on. Let's get alpine with alpine, right? So what we're going to do, you're going to end in Osaka. The next day, you're going to take a limited express called the Thunderbird. How that's going to work, you can end in Kyoto here too if you want. It's going to cross from Osaka to Kyoto. You're going to follow the Lake Biwa, Lake of Rage here, and you're going to come up to Tsuruga. This is on the northern coast. There's also a great thing around here called Amano Hashidate in Miyazu. How far away? Oh, no, it's probably kind of too far away. I stayed here once, and this is really cool. It's like a land bridge that's really thin, as you can see here across the bay. I e-biked around this whole area, or actually normal biked around this whole area. I didn't have an e-bike that time. Very nice place to go, Amano Hashidate. It's in northern Kyoto. I almost got stuck around there, actually. I almost like my only train breakdown was around here, so. And there's like no one up there. This is actually funny enough, even though we're right on Honshu, Tottori is the least populated prefecture of Japan. So nothing goes on in Tottori except for the dunes. And the sand dunes look like a desert. They're pretty cool. But you probably don't have time to get here on a... you could day trip. There is a limited express that comes up here. But yeah, you probably don't have the time to get here on a 2-week trip, I would say. Tottori is kind of hard to get to. You got to go through the Intermountain route. So this is a Japanese town called Obama. Yeah, I did pass through Obama before. Okay, so from Suruga, you're going to go north, and you're going to do this. So this is going to be a bit of a travel day, but there's a reason behind it because we need to get to a certain location for the next day. So you're going to come out of Kansai, come out of Osaka or Kyoto, come up through Suruga. You're going to connect at Suruga to Kanazawa. I would recommend stopping here. Explore Kanazawa for like half the day. There's a great garden, Kenroku-en. There's great gardens in every Japanese city, but Kenroku-en is a great garden in Kanazawa. The thing I really like about Kanazawa is it's almost like a Kyoto light. So because of where it is, Kanazawa was actually spared from a lot of bombing during World War II. So a lot of the traditional stuff still stands. There's a lot of great districts in Kanazawa, and it's a very flowery city. They put flowers everywhere intentionally. I was here during cherry blossom season. If you come in like early March or early April, it'll still be cherry blossoms here, and it was insane. I was around the castle. And you know what? I can even find views of it. Let me find Kanazawa Castle, because people definitely take views of it. Let me see if I can find any with the cherry blossoms, because there were like tornadoes of cherry blossoms as I was walking around the area. It was just so beautiful. Kanazawa was maybe one of my favorite cities, and I would recommend stopping here. There's also a great samurai. Hold on, let me find it. There's a great samurai district. Higashichaya district, where there was old samurai. Oh no, this was, I think, tea making or jewelry making housing. But there's a district by the river that's all old, like, samurai housing. Is this it? And it's still up, and it's just, like, right along the river and stuff like that in Kanazawa, so it's super worth a look, because it's, like, old samurai houses, basically. And great districts around here. So Kanazawa is absolutely worth a stop. It's also right on the way to where we're going to end the day, Toyama. So there's nothing really interesting going on in Toyama, but you need to end the day here because of what we're doing next. Local weather person, there'll be whirlwinds of flower petals running up and down the main street all day today. Yes, literally that, Apop. Literally that. It was so cool. And there's just there's a lot of flowers in Kanazawa in general. Very floral town, and you're on the north coast. So the cool thing about this area is right here is the Alps. So like from Toyama and from Kanazawa on a clear day, let me see if I can actually find a picture. Yeah, this. This is just in the background at all times. It's insane. And this is a part of Japan that a lot of people don't get to see when they come here for only 2 or 3 weeks. So I would absolutely do this. And guess what? We're going to go over these mountains. That's why we're here. That's why we're here on this day. We're going to end in Toyama, even though there's nothing really interesting in Toyama. It's a port city. There's good seafood. But we're going to end here because we're going to go over the Alps the next day. So what you want to do, end the day in Toyama. You don't need to spend much time here. Like, get dinner here or something like that. But specifically, get a hotel near Toyama Station. And the reason why is this little station right here, Dentetsu Toyama, right outside Toyama Station. This is a different company, the Dentetsu. We're going to launch ourselves by trebuchet. Exactly. You want to be able to get here early in the morning. So stay somewhere around here. I would recommend for a cheap hotel. I actually stayed here a couple days ago. The Appa Hotel, Tokyo Toyama Ekimai. I spent like $40 to stay here. And it's directly like next to the station. So stay there or something like that. And get to Dentetsu Toyama the next morning, because we're taking the Dentetsu Toyama the Tateyama Kurobe Alpine route is what we're going to be taking this next day. This whole day is going to be that. You're going to need the whole day. The Tateyama Kurobe Alpine route. Let me show you some pictures of this, because it is the best view I've ever seen in my entire life, bar none. Tateyama Kurobe Alpine route. Here we go. So, yeah, come during fall, right? Spring is insane as well, don't get me wrong. Spring is absolutely nutty as well. Yeah, it's insane. So what you're going to do here, just in terms of view, from this Dentetsu Toyama station, you're going to buy a through ticket on the Tateyama Kurobe Alpine route. It's about $100 for a through ticket. Buy a through ticket to Shinano Omachi, if you have a JR pass, because then you can connect to Nagano for free. But you can also buy all the way to Nagano on the other side. And what you're going to do is the Dentetsu Toyama line is going to take you to Tateyama, which is south kind of Toyama. And this is the only way through the Alps. You can go around the Alps. There's a route here, and there's a very fast train route to just go completely around the Alps into Nagano. But we're going to go directly through them for the views. So Tateyama here, basically you start this insane journey that's going to be cable cars, it's going to be underground railways, it's going to be regular buses, regular trains to cross over the Alps. There's snow here all the time, even into June. I crossed over in June and there was still a snow wall at the top because you're in the Alpine zone. You are over 10,000 feet up. It is huge. Actually, how high? Hold on. height max? I forget. What's the max height? Okay, yeah, 2,450 meters. Let's put those into freedom units. Meters to feet to freedom units. Yeah, about 8,000 feet up is the route's going to take you. So for those of you in the U.S., that's way higher than Mount Washington on the east side of the U.S. So you're going to go over the Alps, and you're going to see all this insane stuff. So it's going to kind of take you over. You're going to go over Mount Tate, I believe, or Mount Tsurugi. And you're going to get into these like insane snow walls. Like your bus is going to go through this. Oh my God. Your bus is going to go through like the snow wall like this. And you just take a variety of transport options. Here's the actual route if you want to take a look at it. And it tells you exactly like, these are all the stops. So you're taking one through ticket through all of these stops, more or less. And you can stop off at any of them and then get back on and like hang out a while, going over Mount Tateyama. And then this part right here where you descend into the Kurobe Dam. There's this beautiful dam right here. And this is specifically where I thought my favorite view in the world was. Kurobe Dam. Because I went in a period of time where there was still snow and it was a very sunny day. So like my view was something like this, actually. You'll come down. Oh, that's way too small. You'll come down. Oh, hold on. Come back. Oh no, I lost it. It's over here. You're going to come down and it's going to, yeah, something. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. It's like this. Where you come down, you're on this dam. Look how small the people are. You're on this dam with this crystalline green water, and like you can still see the Alps in the distance with the snow, but there's so much greenery and this massive waterfall. It's insanely beautiful, and it's a part of Japan not a lot of people get to see because you get to actually see the mountainous part. I feel like, you know, Japan's so much mountains. Like 70% of Japan is mountains, but the normal Golden Route does not take you through many mountains. Because you're always on the coast, because that's where all the civilization is, because the mountains are so impenetrable in Japan. So I really wanted to, for a perfect itinerary, get people to see that mountainous part of Japan. So go through the mountains there. Absolutely take that Alpine route. That's my huge recommendation for that last day. Spend a whole day crossing over the Alps, and then you're going to end in Nagano, because what's going to happen, you're going to come out the other side, you're going to take a bus down to Omachi. I actually walked to this. I walked part of this, and it was like 3 hours and not a good idea because there's bears here. And it's really meant for buses to go by and nothing else because it's a mountain you're descending. And I walked it and it was like a little sketchy. There was, you know, fresh bear poop. So be careful there. But you're going to come out into Shinano Omachi, which is actually just south of Hakuba, where the 1998 Winter Olympics were. So the Happo 1 snow resort is where the Winter Olympics were, right at the base of the Alps. This is actually, if you saw my Twitter post of the picture where I said like, oh, it's peak, that was right here a few days ago. I was in Hakuba when I took that picture. And then I was in Minami Otori as well, right here, when I took, like, those pictures were right around there from the other side. So bears getting in the way of my cardio. Yeah, totally. Okay. So from there, you're going to come down into Nagano. Nagano is a good place to spend the night, I would say, because the area, you're already going to have had a really busy day at that point. And like the station, and you end in Nagano anyway. Like you end in Nagano, coming down this route pretty much all the time. Sleep in Nagano, get one right by the station, because the station area of Nagano is really well built up. In fact, let me like get you on the ground here. So you don't have to be like, oh man, like I just hiked basically, right? You just, oh, I don't want to be in Nagano station. Don't need that view. But it's like, yeah, you just hiked and you know, you're probably a little bit tired. So you don't want to go too crazy, but this area right around Nagano Station is very well built up. And as you can see, there's a lot of side streets with food, a lot of hotels, just radiating off in many directions from the main Nagano Station. So just spend the night in Nagano. You're almost done anyway. So have a tired night, spend it in Nagano. The other good reason to spend it in Nagano is it gives you a good base for your last day where you have many options. Because keep in mind, you're going to fly out of Tokyo. Look at where you are. You're up here in Nagano. Tokyo is all the way down here. Luckily, a Shinkansen does connect them, so even though this looks very far on the map, it's actually only a 50-minute ride. So you can easily get to Tokyo for your flight, whether it be late at night that day or the next morning. My friends, for example, were going out the next morning. So we were in Nagano, and then we decided to head to Tokyo. This is where you have many options depending on what you want to see. So I'm going to take you through them all, and I actually have them listed here. So your options, we only had 4 days in Tokyo. Say you're more of a city person. Sure, wake up in Nagano, 50 minutes, shoot right down to Tokyo, enjoy yourself. Have fun in Tokyo, whatever district you want to see. You can spend an extra day in Tokyo before you leave. Alternatively, you can bypass Tokyo, keep going, and go down to Yokohama, Yokosuka, Kamakura area. So this is what we ended up doing yesterday. This is actually what I did yesterday, this exact trip. We came down from Nagano in the morning to Tokyo, And then we headed down to Kamakura. Kamakura there's a lot of surfing around here. If the weather's good, if it's warm out, I would come here. You get good views of Fuji actually from Enoshima, but this whole area of Enoshima and Kamakura, great shopping around here on Komachi Dori. Let me see if I can show you hold on. Komachi Dori in Kamakura. Right here, yeah. Nice shopping street. Very crowded all the time. But great stuff here for like souvenirs. And this is your last day, so this is a good time to like get souvenirs and stuff. Kamakura is a very traditional area, very nice. Enoshima is really cool. It's an island that you can walk to right off the coast here, basically, and you get good views of Fuji. So if I were to like throw you on, hold on, let me throw you on the bridge here. So this is the bridge. Basically, you can walk along the side of it, and as you can see, this is Enoshima up here, and Fuji's right off in the distance here. It doesn't look like you could really see it on this day. Hold on, let me see. Maybe if I go down here, looks like this was a cloudy day. You could sort of see it. So that little white up there is actually the peak of Fuji. So you can see the peak. But you can see Fuji from right here, and this island's really cool to explore because it's a bunch of shops, and then it kind of like you go up the mountain, a really tiny mountain, past a bunch of like small like places you can sit and eat for food. It's all right by the ocean where you got all these like nice rocks coming down the other side, so you can hang out on the rocks. And there's also a dragon cave here. So these caves in the interior where they have like an animatronic dragon that you clap and it like roars at you. But they're cool caves. They give you a little candle to explore, and you walk through the caves. And it's just really nice because it's all self-contained. It's a nice path you can follow, and it goes up the mountain to the top and then back down the mountain on the other side. A bunch of good food here. The Iwaya cave is what I'm talking about. Yeah, these caves right here. Great visit. So that's a good day trip too. If you want to end in Tokyo, you could do that instead. Now, say that you want to get a little spicy. Say that you're like, I really like Mount Fuji. I really like nature. Say you're really nature oriented. Here's what to do instead. This is a long trip and very train heavy, but it's something you can do in a day. I've done it before, and it's pretty wacky. So from Nagano, what you're going to do instead is rather than taking the fast route on the Shinkansen, you're going to head down this way. I believe it's this way. Hold on. Where is Gotemba? Here we go. Okay. So yeah, what you're actually going to do instead is rather than take the Shinkansen, you're going to head down this local line past Matsumoto. That you can get a limited express here, so it's a little faster. And you're going to keep heading into the Sorry, I'm talking too fast. Yamanashi area. Oh yeah, Apop, don't worry. Spicy in the fun way. Like spicy in like the little like not like sus or anything, but like, oh, okay. You'll see where I'm getting. You'll see what I'm getting. We're talking Suicide Forest. So what you can do, take a limited express through Matsumoto into Yamanashi. Yamanashi and Kofu is a really cool area because this whole area is just like surrounded. Like this is a bowl surrounded by mountains. If I were to give you a 360 here, I actually might be able to. Yeah, 360-degree view in Kofu is you're entirely surrounded by mountains. Really cool place. But what's important here is this area. So you're going to come down south. Fuefuki, just for fans, this is Inaba. Persona 4's Inaba is Fuefuki right here. So if you want to stop in Inaba and check that out, if you're a big Persona fan, you can. It's nothing too crazy here. Junes doesn't even have a TV department. Kind of terrible. But yeah, I stopped here. It's cool. But I would keep going. And where you want to get to is Fuji Kawaguchiko. Let me actually, yeah, here it is. I even saw it on the map. So you're going to keep taking slow trains, and these are beautiful views in trains along the way because you're getting close to Fuji or in the mountains. And you're going to come down to Fuji Kawaguchiko. This is a resort area. There's actually a amusement park here, a very popular one called Fujiku Highlands, which has like, there's Fuji, and here's, a bunch of amusement park stuff. Very cool roller coasters and all that. But this area, so Mount Fuji's directly right here. You're directly below Mount Fuji at this point. This is called the Fuji Five Lakes region. It's like a very big resort destination where there's these lakes with a bunch of like water sports on them and stuff like that around these towns in the middle of the mountains. Very aesthetic. Good place to stay. I would spend like a week. I would spend like many days here if you could, honestly, but given the time constraints, you can pass through in a day, because what you can do too, like you can choose what you want here. Unfortunately, yeah, it's kind of like that. Beautiful area. You can choose what you want to do, but if you only have one day, what you can do is come down here, because right around here is ice caves. Let me find them. Narusawa Ice Caves. Narusawa Ice Caves. And this is more actually sort of what the ice caves are based off of in Pokemon, but like they're kind of spread out. It's a little weird. But these are year-round ice caves that you can go into where there's just like ice stalagmites and stuff like that. Lava cave with seasonal ice formations. It's really cool. But right next to this also is this. If you know, you know. You can hike in here. Free natural puzzles, yeah. If you know, you know. You can hike in here. This is Aokigahara, also known as the Suicide Forest. Yes, the Logan Paul one. That's this right here. It is incredibly spooky. You can hike in here. The ground is very volcanic and incredibly porous, and because of that, sound is absorbed. So it's really silent. It's really quiet all the time. There's like no animal noises, and it's a very, very old forest because it's at the base of Mount Fuji. This place is spooky. It's got bad vibes. But if you really want the experience to say you went to the Suicide Forest, you can do that here. You can take a bus and be right there. Like, take the bus for the Narusawa Ice Caves, Fugaku Wind Cave. The bus route goes right here on 139, and you can walk into here. So that is one thing you can do. If you're feeling spicy on your last day and you want some more nature, you can go into the Suicide Forest. And then from there, this is a tough day, though, because you have to start really early in the morning, take some direct buses, direct trains, and just like hoof it. You're going to spend a lot of time on trains. If you take this route, you can theoretically go from here, though, and end back in Tokyo via Gotemba. So from there, you jump back to Fuji Kawaguchiko, jump to Gotemba, get back through one of these routes onto the Shinkansen line, sometimes in Mishima, and then hit the Shinkansen through Atami back to Tokyo. That's another option. Final option for the final day you can do. If you want a little more ocean, say that you really like being around the ocean, you want some more ocean action, you're a big ocean person, head right down to Tokyo, or actually you're gonna, let me see. No, actually you're not gonna head to Tokyo. What you're gonna do is connect in probably Omiya. So you're gonna take the Shinkansen from Nagano down towards Tokyo, but you're probably gonna connect and switch tracks in Omiya. And what you're going to do is head north, even though, again, this looks like a very long ride. It's not. It's only about an hour, all the way up to Sendai. Sendai will give you a taste of Tohoku. This is a region of Japan, northern Japan, before you get to Hokkaido. So it's a good way to be like, hey, I want a nice experience of many different parts of Japan. Boom, shoot up right here to Sendai. The nice thing about Sendai is about 30 minutes from Sendai, 30 minutes from Sendai is this area right here. This is called Matsushima Bay. You can get here very, very easily. And it's just a cool little bay area. Like if you're around Matsushima Station, there's about 100 islands out here in the bay. And it's a right like oceanside community with a ton of good seafood, a ton of specialties and stuff like that. Just a really cute place to spend your last day if you want to just like walk around the seaside area. Let me see if I can get you on the road here. Maybe. Okay, that's a bad road. Nope, not that one. I want to get you down here. Here we go. Down by this area. Yeah, it's just a nice little bay area with all these islands and some like weird like cliff temples and stuff like that. Bunch of street food. If I could get you on the actual street and I remembered where it was, I could. But there's a bunch of street food around here. That's actually not the best area to show off. I don't want to undersell it. It's really nice if you're in the right zone. Ah, here we go. Yep, Matsushima Kaigan. This is it. This is the area, I believe. Yeah. So it's like a long... this isn't the central street either. It's like this central street right here. And there's a bunch of good, like, food and stuff like that. Yeah, right around, if I can get on here. Yeah, this is it. There we go. So, yeah, it's a nice little bay area, and usually it's very crowded with tourists and stuff like that, but not too bad. Bunch of great seafood all along. So if you want more seafood, if you want more ocean, I would head up to Sendai, head to Matsushima Bay. Also, because Sendai, it's cool to get a sense of, like, hey, this is a part of Japan I haven't been to yet on your final day. And then you can head right back to Tokyo within like an hour. So it's not bad at all. And then you either head out Haneda or you head out Narita. And yeah, that's Japan. That's your 2 weeks. So here's the total itinerary. Best done in spring or fall if you want to take a look at it. But we got the whole thing kind of statted out right there. And again, like I said, if you have extra time, if you have a 3 week, for example, I would go ahead. You missed the whole thing, didn't you? Don't worry, Nova. You can always watch the VOD, and I'm going to upload this itinerary as well, because I made this for my friends, and this was the exact itinerary my friends followed in their 2 weeks in Japan. So for a 2 week trip, this is what you do. So the way to think about it is use my guide, I would recommend, if you are going to do a 2 week, and if you're going to do a 3 week, spend that extra week out here in Kyushu like we talked about earlier. Alternatively, okay, a couple other things. Let me just like highlight other areas of Japan you may want to go to. If you have extra time, say you're spending like a month here or something like that, and you have the time. Okay, if you come in the winter, going to Hokkaido might be pretty cool. Or if you're here in the summer, going to Hokkaido might be pretty cool. There's a pun there. Ha ha ha. It will be pretty cool in Hokkaido because Japanese summer gets really, really hot, really, really humid. People go to Hokkaido to escape it because in June in Hokkaido, it's actually like fairly temperate and it's not that humid. So a lot of people in June and July and August will head up to Hokkaido for vacation and stuff like that because it's a little cooler because it's so far north. You're right next to Russia. So Hokkaido's cool. It's very spaced out. In Biei and Furano, there's some really great flower fields. This is actually, again, Pokemon reference, but this is Floroma Town right here. So BA and Furano have Farm Tomata, I've actually been here, have very awesome flower fields and stuff like that. Very beautiful areas in Hokkaido. And during the winter, Sapporo has the Ice Festival, where they carve a bunch of ice in the middle of the city. And you just like a huge like winter zone in Sapporo. Also winter, if you're coming in the winter, you can come back down here to Nagano, because Nagano has insane skiing in all of Nagano Prefecture. So Hakuba, Otari, places like that. I think, where's another one? Not Azumino. It's over here somewhere. Yeah, just a bunch of skiing towns around here. So great skiing over in Hakuba at Hoppo 1 and other resorts if you're here in the winter. The Noto Peninsula is also good to bike around. I've heard a lot of people do bike trips around the Noto Peninsula. Tohoku's, I don't know. All right, so for people who know a lot about Japan travel, right? Abroad in Japan exists. Hey, what's up, Koromaru? Abroad in Japan exists, right? And he did, I think a good way to explain Tohoku is do a comparison between his Japan trip videos, where he does like the, I forget what the series is called, but he does those like big trip videos that are series videos, where he goes all around a certain area of Japan. Compare the Tohoku one to all the others. Yeah, compare the Tohoku one to all the others. The Tohoku one comparatively is a little mid. I think Tohoku is cool, and I want to spend more time there, but everything's really spread out, and it's not very touristy, I would say. Like, I think, I think Tohoku's, like, unless you're spending a lot of time in Japan, maybe go to Sendai, but the rest of it, like, there's cool stuff in every prefecture, but it's not, like, it's not amazing. It's not like, oh, I'm on my first trip to Japan, let me go to Tohoku type stuff, you know? And same thing goes for other Kanto areas. Like, Ibaraki is the least tourist visited area in all of Japan. Unless you really like Kamen Rider filming locations, there's nothing here for you. or science. There's a lot of science cities in Ibaraki. But yeah, Ibaraki's like, and Tochigi are like the least visited places tourist-wise in all of Japan, even though they are in Kanto. It's just that everyone's in Tokyo. There's nothing there. Nothing there for tourists. You can spend a month in Kyoto alone. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, Tohoku, you can kind of like, you can skip it. You can skip Tohoku unless you're spending a lot of time, but they do all have specialties. So obviously Akita has some cool chicken, like some great chicken specialties, and you have the Akita Inu, like the dogs. Aomori is great apple production and some cool mountains. This place out here near Mutsu is like considered like hell, almost like a gateway to hell is a mountain over here, but it's really hard to get to. Really cool stuff up in Tohoku, but not worth like if you only have 3 weeks, I would say. Unless you really want to see Fukushima. So one thing you can do is you can jump up to Fukushima fairly quick, and you can go see the Fukushima Daiichi. You can get pretty close to it right now. The radiation is lower. That's where the nuclear disaster was, and you can get kind of close now. I think Futaba Station is the closest station you can get to, but it's like a mile away from the actual reactor, so you can go there, and it's only like getting exposed to a chest X-ray every hour, so don't stay there. But it's fine to visit, you know. Hokkaido, yeah, I would only go to Hokkaido if you have a lot of time, because Hokkaido's cool, but it's really spaced out. Like Lake Akan, it's really hard to traverse too, because the trains are all slow. The Shinkansen doesn't even go here. It stops in Aomori, then you have to take a normal line. Oh no, it goes to Hakodate, and then you through an underwater tunnel. But then you have to take normal trains all around, and it's very long. Like in Tokyo area, this trip would not be very long, but this is a 4-hour. Like if you're going from Sapporo to Abashiri, this is a 4-hour train journey, and then it's like 2 hours, 3 hours down to Kushido, and then another 4 hours back. I did that route, and because I wanted to go to Lake Akan, because the Ainu people, the indigenous Japanese people, are still alive around here, basically. So it's worth seeing if you want to spend time in Hokkaido, but navigating that during winter is going to be brutal, I imagine. So definitely more of a summer thing, I would say. Wakanai is probably not worth going to. It's like northmost point in Japan. Really hard to get to, though, and then you're like, hey, I went to the northmost point, and then you leave. It's a long way to get to Wakanai. But yeah, so I would say, yeah, spend more time around here. This is Chugoku, the region in between, like kind of in Hiroshima, Chugoku area in between like Kyushu and Kansai. This area is mostly mountainous, so the routes really are along the south here, and then the north. The north route's really slow because there's no Shinkansen, and nothing's going on up here. There's some great views, but it's very rural. very rural. There's some towns up here that don't even have convenience stores, you know what I mean? And they're on a train line, and there's just no convenience stores. Granted, they have like local grocery stores, but they're only open like 3 hours or some stuff like that, you know? So just, you know, stuff you can like get intermountain if you want to hear. There's tons of mountains in Chugoku. Shikoku is unique. Nobody goes here. So Shikoku is maybe like the least visited part of Japan, I would say. Like nobody really takes tourist trips here, but Shikoku's worth it, I think, if you have some time. I did a whole round tour of Shikoku and I went through the interior. The Iya Valley of Shikoku, which is like the line that runs down the center here, is arguably one of the most rural and isolated areas of Japan. They claim that themselves. People disappear. Like people go sometimes in the past went to disappear out here because it's just like one central line through just insane mountain ranges, and there's like no cities. There's just like small dwellings, right? But this area is really, really cool. There's a gorge that runs this entire way, and the gorge, Oboke Gorge right here, was so cool that I decided to walk part of this. So I got off at Oboke, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk to the next station. And it was like a 3-hour walk across the gorge. But let me see if I can show you some pictures of the area, because it's super worth it. There's just mountains on both sides. You know, I'll do the sightseeing boat, actually. It's just like mountains on both sides near the gorge, and it's like, oh, just beautiful. Beautiful to walk along. It's also like way bigger than it looks on screen, you know? So you're just walking through like a valley. Yeah, people go missing the mountains all the time. You're walking through a valley that's just like this, and there's a few roadside stations and stuff, but it's wicked isolated. Great hiking. Awesome stuff. So Oboke Gorge area and the Iya Valley as a whole, which is this whole area, is really cool. Also, Naruto's over here. If you like the whirlpools, you cross over here, and there's the Naruto whirlpools are right around here, which you can actually do in a day trip. I think you can do that in day trip from Kobe pretty easily because there's buses that go here all the time. If you're a big cyclist, the Setanakai National Park here has a cycling route across 7 of these islands where you kind of cycle from Shikoku to the Honshu mainland. And it's like a whole day, if not 2 days. Some people stop in the middle and sleep, like at I think Kamijima or somewhere. But you can bike it from Imabari to over here in Onomichi. And it's a cool bike trip if you have a day or two and you really like biking, because you're going through the national park and all that. It's nice. It's really nice. So yeah, tons of stuff to do in Japan. And if anyone has any specific questions too about any specific areas, obviously you can DM me. I've been to every prefecture. I've been to most places. Oh, another one. Here, another one. Say you have an extra time. This is something I haven't done yet, but I really want to. So this is a specific one for me. Down here in Wakayama, really hard to get to, but there's this Koya right here. Koya-san is a famous like monk mountain basically, and I did go to Koya-san, but in particular one thing I didn't do is over here. So you come out, you can actually do this Chosho Michi hiking route. It's like a pilgrimage route that's part of this pilgrimage, like between a bunch of temples all over Japan. And you can hike this and then come up Mount Koya. And it's just like you enter this gate into this little town area, this little like town city area through the gate. And it's all just temples and like, you know, it's a tourist, like you can do tourist stuff here, but it's just a lot of temples and like a lot of monks live here and stuff. Beautiful place, as you can see, Koya-san. And very spiritual mountain, but the really cool thing is the cemetery. So over here in Okonoin Cemetery, you can walk to it. This is just like a 2-mile long cemetery that's in the woods, and it's incredibly aesthetic. It's like this, and you walk down just roads of this constantly. They're like paths like this, right? But the really cool thing is apparently at night, they light up all the lanterns, and you can walk through at night with all the lanterns lit up. And I'm like, oh, I really want to do that. That's one thing I didn't get to do, but that sounds so insanely cool. So that's another thing you can do. You can flex over to Koya if you have a few extra days. But yeah, that's the general itinerary. So I'm going to go ahead and post that. And if anyone has any specific Japan travel questions, feel free to DM me too. I know Kuramaru also knows a lot and has spent a lot of time in Japan. So you can, I mean, if he's open to it, right? I'm not going to say like DM him. But yeah, if you want to have any specific questions about your trip in particular or planning for your itinerary and your needs, I can definitely give you some help. So just send me a DM on that. And yeah, that's about it for the Japan itinerary, my recommendations and what I've learned from spending a lot of time there. I actually had a very busy last few days because I was tracking my friends. So funny story, I was tracking my friends almost exactly from about this point in the trip onwards. So the Nara till the end of the trip. So I actually have done all this very recently. I took the Thunderbird. I didn't do the village e-biking because I've done some things and didn't want to do them again. And I didn't cross over the Alpine route, but I actually took another route where I went around to Itoigawa, which is called the Jade Coast. You can find like jade on the beaches there. It's really nice. And then I went down and stopped at Hakuba. So I went around the Alps rather than through them. But I've been very busy. Oh, a little bit of Aizu Wakamatsu. Got Kyoto specific. Gotcha. Yeah. So if you want to know Kyoto in particular, absolutely hit up Kiromaru then. But yeah, so I'm actually very tired because I did this route just a few days ago, and my friends ended in, I was with them in Yokohama last night, meeting with another friend, and then I took the last Shinkansen over back to Osaka, was here like after midnight, went right to bed, woke up and streamed. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm super tired, and I'm looking forward to spending the day relaxing. I'm going to go get a ton of Family Mart food right outside my hotel right now, and I'm going to catch up on stuff. So... excuse me, that's my plan for the rest of the day. But thanks for coming to stream. Hopefully this helps you with the Japan itinerary. And then we'll see you in a few days. Oh my god, my hiccups are acting up again. Blah. We'll see you in a few days for Pokemon Region Quest yet again. And yeah, the limited schedule while I'm in Japan continues. But we're crushing it. We're kind of crushing it. It doesn't feel like much of a gap in content. I'm still doing like 3 streams a week. So let's go find a raid target. Thanks for coming by. And we'll see you in a few days. So... informative presentation. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I wanted to raid. Hold on. Let's raid into Kagai Nikki. I wanted to raid into him for a while, but I never get the chance. So stand by. He's playing Mario Party. Let me just make sure I get this name right. Kagai Nikki. Raid. And we're going to go stand by. Let's do Kai G. His name has like a lot of like uppercases and lower cases and stuff like that. So it's hard to do. Kai G Nikki VT. There we go. Nikki, and then VT. I believe that's like that. All right, let's go. Stand by for raid. And as always, let's do Kansai lifts for the raid message. We'll do that. Kansai lifts. No problem. Thanks for coming by, guys. Let's go.